Welcome to the inaugural Razzball Fantasy Start Sit Show. We're super excited today. If you're watching us live today, we're going to be doing start sits for you, the follower, all for the next 3 hours to kick off the NFL season. So basically today, guys, we have a brand new Razzball team that's going to be doing this every single Sunday for 3 full hours. So we're excited. So first off, I want to introduce my co-host and the man who's going to be leading the way today, Sky Gawasko. What's going on, Sky?
Good morning, everybody. Very happy to bring this series over here to the Razzball Fantasy Football channel. As Bob mentioned, we have all of your questions getting answered here quickly. So as people start rolling in here, we start getting your start set questions. Feel free to jump in the comments section. We will get to as many as possible, as frequently as possible. And I believe Bob has kind of a cheat code to jump to the front of the line he can share in a bit.
Yep. And we also have Matt Styles. What's going on, Matt?
Hey, like I said when we signed on, right? It's Christmas morning for everybody.
Love it.
It's a new day. It's a new season. We're all ready to go. So Razzball's where it's at, right? A lot of free content, and here we are to answer your start sit questions this morning.
Nice. And finally, best and final, the Dynasty guy. I mean, listen, he's coming on today to talk a little bit about redraft. We appreciate what's going on, Paul Blake.
Hey, Bobby, what's shaking, guys? Happy to be a part of it. Yeah, normally I'm Dynasty, but I do redraft leagues, and I'm here to help. Anything for Razzball, which is a great site, and I recommend you guys check her out.
Absolutely. So, Sky, basically, before the chats start rolling in, I basically want to talk a little bit about like some things that popped up recently, notable injuries heading into this week. So, I guess for week one, let's talk a little strategy. Maybe talk a little bit about your mindset, how much the changes impact your thought process, coaching changes, player changes. Like, when you kind of set your lineups, do you tend to lean a little bit more to the known commodity, meaning like the same coach, same scheme, same players? Talk a little bit about for week one strategy heading into this week.
I do. I'm not really a big start your studs guy necessarily because everybody's got plus and minus matchups in general. But yes, this week, for example, I am playing the guys that I know generally produce. There's a lot of guys we'll be breaking down injuries as they come across. We'll be breaking down doubtfuls and players that are just frankly declared out. Just got a note here that J.K. Dobbins might suit up, but he most likely won't play. So those are the kind of things that are not going to play much enough to make an impact on your fantasy team. Chris Godwin could do the same thing. So those are the type of things we're going to be bringing to you this morning, pregame every single Sunday. So for me, man, it's just going to be the guys I know they're going to play. A lot of rookies and stuff I might try to fade. Like, I'm really excited about Treylon Burks kind of in general as the number one in Tennessee. But this week, I might look for another option if I've got one just because I'm unsure what the offense will look like. So those kind of things in week one, I'm trying to fade if I can. But let's not get crazy, right? I mean, it is week one. We'll see what happens. And also, of course, classic fantasy football. Don't overreact either way to week one. When Sammy Watkins goes off for 4 touchdowns today, don't get too excited about it.
Only 3.
3, excuse me. I over-exaggerated.
Yeah. And the same question for you, Matt. What's your strategy heading into week one?
So I got up too early, right? Couldn't sleep. Again, it felt like Christmas morning. So I was out on Reddit answering some start sit questions. And what I kept seeing question-wise was the rookie receivers. They came up over and over and over again. And Michael Thomas. Mm-hmm. So I'm staying away from Michael Thomas. I have 0 shares. His injury and his prima donna nature kind of freaks me out. So I stayed away. But with the rookie receivers, I actually got a question, DJ Moore or Chris Olave, right? I don't think that takes much of a thought process. It's always DJ Moore. It's always going to be DJ Moore. And for all the rookie receivers, and some of them like Treylon Burks and Drake London that are good football players, they're really good at what they do. I want to see them do it at least for a week, maybe 2 weeks before I put them in a lineup over guys that are established, that have a role, that know their quarterback and know how the NFL works. So Olave is going to be great long-term. London's going to be great long-term, but Pitts is going to eat all day today, and it's not going to be Drake London. And if it is, I throw him in there next week. But I'm fading the rookies just like Sky said.
Okay. And what about you, Public?
Yeah, similar boat for me. Rookies, injuries, anything that seems kind of ambiguous or murky to you as far as a position or a running back committee, I kind of try and stay back week one, go with the known commodities like these gentlemen said, and leave those risky plays to other players for me on week one. And then, react like you guys said, don't overreact, but start setting things up going forward after this first week.
Okay. So first off, we're starting to get people to watch right now. This show today is for you, not about us talking about our lineups, talking about players. Today's the show for you. So if you have lineup, start, sit questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to them right away. We'll start answering them for you guys. So if you have, flex questions, if you have a QB start, sit question you want to get to, you can drop the questions right into the chat. We'll answer them right on the stream. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that when I was doing my research this morning, about some of the notable injuries. So we're going to pop up some on the screen. So here are the things that we know right now. Allen Lazard, George Kittle are out. Michael Thomas, Logan Thomas, Jacoby Myers, Drake London, Zach Ertz, and Chris Godwin are in. Now, here's some other things that obviously that don't impact your fantasy team on the player surface, but might have impacts on players in fantasy in general. For example, Don Parham, backup tight end for the Chargers, is now officially out. That could be a slight boost for a player like Gerald Everett. So if you're looking for a streamer tight end, Gerald Everett might see more snaps because the backup Parham is out. Rondale Moore out once again. Now, this is a really big question mark. Zach Ertz is banged up with a calf injury. Marquis Brown, in my opinion, is one of my favorite DFS plays this week. I think he's going to be funnel targets all game long. Now, you got Rondale Moore along with DeAndre Hopkins out and a limited Zach Ertz. After that, A.J. Green gets a little iffy, and also Wesley and all those guys, I think you're getting a little cute. So I think Marquise Brown is my biggest takeaway there. Michael Gallup and Washington, of course, are out for the Dallas Cowboys. We also have Tyron Smith out as well. I think Dak is going to obviously be in a relative shootout. Of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are known for their elite run defense, and they were a pass funnel defense last year. So I think Dak will still put up points. I think you're riding with CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz, of course, and maybe even throw them at DFS. Here is a fun player prop for you. Noah Brown, 2.5 receptions today. Bet the over. I like it a lot. I think he might be on the field a lot as the number 2 for the Dallas Cowboys. The Ravens offensive line has 2 notable injuries. Ronnie Stanley looks like he will be out today. And then their center, Linderson, whatever. Their center is actually hurt today. So there's a lot of injuries on this offensive line as well. So that could be notable for guys like Mike Davis if J.K. Dobbins is out. Shaquille Leonard is out today. Good news for a guy like Dameon Pierce, slight bump for his matchup, even though this is probably one of the worst matchups on the slate. I think Pierce gets a bump because Leonard is out. J.C. Jackson is out. Good news for Devontae Adams. Jimmy Ward is out. If you're looking for some silver lining for Darnell Mooney today, I think that Jimmy Ward plays a lot in the slot. Mooney was featured in the slot in the preseason, so I like that as well. Greedy Williams out today against Carolina. I think that's a boost for DJ Moore. We also have that name, Paulson Adebo. People don't know him, but he's actually the starter alongside Marcus Lattimore for the Saints. So I do believe Lattimore will probably see a lot of Drake London today on that defense. So maybe Marcus Mariota gets a slight boost elsewhere. Deion Jones, stud linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons, out today. I think that's a slight boost for Alvin Kamara. And the Giants will be down 2 starters in the front 7. Derrick Henry is going to absolutely eat. Sky, looks like we finally have some questions. Let's start getting into it.
Good morning, everybody. If you're just joining the Razzball Fantasy Football Show, we see the comments coming in. Feel free to load us up. We'll get to them as quickly as possible. Also, of course, goes without saying, but make sure to drop a subscribe right down here as you are tuning in. Takes 2 seconds. Everyone coming in from YouTube, here we go. Let's go around the horn, boys, nice and quick. Casey Crowhurst wants to know Romeo Doubs or Kyle Pitts at the wide receiver, tight end, flex spot, full PPR. Casey, way to start it off on a hot tip. Everybody, please drop your league setting. At least let us know if it's standard, half, or full PPR. That helps us out tremendously. Super flex questions for quarterbacks as well. Let us know your settings so we can help you the best. Bob, we'll start with you on this one. You going Dobbs with Lazard out, or are you sticking with the beast, Kyle Pitts and Boyd Mariota?
Yeah, I'm going to go Kyle Pitts. I think this is kind of, for me, I would wonder what the tight end situation is for him, right? Like, if he has Kyle Pitts as a flex option, I wonder who his tight end is. But I'm going to go Pitts either way.
All right, Paul?
Yeah, for me, if you can put Pitts at your tight end and play Dobbs, I'd get them both in if I could. But if I got to pick one or the other, I'm Pitts as well.
Matt?
Yep, it's Pitts all day. And I'm a Packers homer. So, like I said earlier, I want to see what the rookie wide receivers, to include Dobbs, can do. So Pitts all day. And where's the tight end, right? Who's the tight end that's starting over Pitts? God Lord, is it Kellen Winslow, right? Is it Tony?
I'll throw this out there, and just because, unless it's got Kelsey or Andrews or whatever, this might just be a no tight end required, right? But you can play a tight end. Those are kind of a fun thing where you don't have to, you're not drafting guys, tight end 15. But another tight end question. Let's keep it moving here. SSS Edits wants to know full PPR, Komet or Robert Tunyon. Paul, we'll start with you.
So I actually live in Illinois. I can tell you about 3 hours away from Chicago, and it is pouring down rain. I think they're going to get
Okay.
a lot of rain there in Soldier, and that field has had troubles before, so I'm kind of interested in how this is going to shake out. I do like Cole Kmet in this one, though, if I had to pick between the two.
We got a weather report already. That's what you're
Love
coming
it.
here.
Love it.
The local.
And there's- Yeah, no lightning either, so I think they're going to play through this thing. It's just rain, so it could get messy up there in Chicago.
All I heard you say was Elijah Mitchell for 250 rushing yards. But that's all I heard.
Oh my God,
Matt, let's go with you here. Kmet or Tunney?
You'll never hear me pick a bear.
Fair enough. I love it, Bob.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna. You know what the funny thing is? I think this is probably going to be a streamer question, right? I think knowing the issue with the 49ers against Kmet, Tunney is coming off a serious injury. I'm not excited to start him either. I might ride the waiver wire if I could, but in a vacuum, I'm going to go with Paul Blake in his rainstorm. I'm actually going to go Robert Tonyan either way.
Oh, I like it. All right, let's go here. It looks like Dimitri, and I apologize ahead of time, of course, for any mispronunciations here. Dimitri, AJ Green or who? Hold on. First of all, I think this is a 2012 comment. I'm not. But double check. This is actually for today.
It's live.
It's live. AJ Green or Julio Jones? I love this question, man. 2 fantasy Hall of Famers. Absolutely. Matt, we'll start with you.
It's AJ Green all day for me.
Okay.
I think he's going to pull a week 1 Sammy Watkins. It's not Andy Isabella. So Reddit can silence all the Isabella tweets or comments on Reddit. It's just not going to happen. It's AJ Green, and then he'll disappear for 8 weeks.
Baba?
I'm actually going to go Julio. The Cowboys are a wide funnel defense, meaning they get destroyed on the perimeter. And I think Diggs is going to focus on Evans, which Julio will open up for opportunities. So I'm going to go Julio Jones.
Paul?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Great question. I'm actually going to lean AJ Green, so I'm going with Styles on this one here.
Man.
If it's 2012 again, how do I look? Do I look young again? I feel like I'm in my early 20s? Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
What were you, 9? You were 9 in 2012?
First of all, I was probably like 12, so I don't want to hear it, all right? So, yeah. No, I was in my 20s, all right? Okay, I don't want to hear it.
My goatee's older than Bobby.
There you go. Gladys just wants to throw a shout out. What's up to Gladys, fellow Razzballer? Good morning, fellas. Let's friggin' go. Love the PC.
Is she sending bagels over? I'm going to listen for the doorbell.
I'm into that. CEH or Pollard in PPR? Wendell Jenner wants to know. Baba, we'll start with you.
I am going to go CEH. I just think I want to take the starting running back for the Chiefs in week 1. I'm interested to see what the Pollard role is going to be, but that Tampa Bay run defense is just elite. And I just don't care to play anybody. I'm trying to avoid that if I can, so I'm going to go CEH.
Paul?
I'm actually going to lean Pollard here. I like the reports of the Cowboys kind of moving him around, getting him in the slot, and I think they are going to have to pass the ball quite a bit, and CeeDee Lamb can't do it all. I like Dalton Schultz, and I like Pollard in this one to catch some passes from Dak.
Matt?
Bobby took the words right out of my mouth. I want to see the Chiefs' #1 running back, and if it turns out to be Pacheco by the end of the game, so be it, but I'm starting CEH.
And for anybody, we'll have a review here in a little bit at the top of the hour. For those of you sticking around for the whole show, Bob did a up to the minute at least injury review at the beginning of the show. If you weren't here for that, listeners and viewers, then Bob can review that a little bit later. But Tyron Smith out in this game, I think that's going to be a big hit to the offensive line. I would lean CEH as well. Let's go with Eric here. Dak or Lance with rain. So here's our Chicago weather report here. So Dak against the Bucks, a big shootout last year on opening night, or Lance. I know a lot of hype. I'm a 49er homer. I know all the hype there, but Dak or Lance, Paul, will start with you.
Yeah, sticking with the known commodity here, I'm going Dak over Lance.
Matt?
Yeah, Dak as well. Don't try to make a splash in week 1. Just go with what you know.
Bubba?
Yeah, I'm going to go Dak because I just think that game is more likely for a shootout.
I think the Niners win, but I'm also going to go with Lance as well. Edits is back. PPR, full PPR. DJ Moore, Pittman, or Sutton, pick 2. Love the lineup here of wide receivers, Matt.
Jesus.
I bench Sutton until I see what Wilson and Sutton can do. And by the way, what has Sutton done for you lately?
Oh,
Bob?
Throwing shade first thing in the morning. I like it.
I'm still trying. Did I say that out loud?
Yeah. You know what? This is tough.
Your mic is hot, Matt.
Yeah,
your mic's hot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think Pittman's my only lock here against Houston. I think outside of that, I think you're not going to go wrong. I'm actually going to go with Sutton against, I think, Russell Wilson, a revenge game against Seattle. I want the guy that might be his number one in that game. So I'm going to go Sutton and Pittman.
Paul?
Yeah, for me, I'm going Moore and Pittman on that one. DJ Moore and Michael Pittman on that one.
Remember, Greedy Williams is out for Carolina, so DJ Moore's got less to worry about.
Absolutely.
Bob, real quick, I don't want to tangent too often here, but Bob, are you just worried about Baker Mayfield in general or what?
No, I'm not worried about Baker. Baker's got a revenge game too, folks. I mean, I'm not saying that, but it's sometimes talking about like narratives a little bit. I know Baker has his revenge game and Russ has his revenge game. I just want to bet on Russ going to beat Seattle, and I think Sutton and
Monday
him are
night
be
too.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I want that last minute splash.
Yep, and then a new quarterback. I mean, look, let's be real. All three of these guys have a new quarterback. Bob and I have talked at nauseum on our shows over the last 3 to 5 years. Continuity is key. All of them have new quarterbacks, so we'll see what happens. I like that one a lot. Thanks, Edits, for tuning in. That's 2 questions for you. Super appreciate the support there. Thank you. Keith Willingham, Bob, we got to start with you. It's your boy, Mo Alley Cox. Hunter Henry in place of Kittle. So, again, George Kittle out today with a groin issue. Mo Alley Cox, Hunter Henry. We're deep diving on the waiver in week 1 for tight ends already, Bob. How you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm actually Hunter Henry's a touchdown or bust player. It is what it is. There's so many weapons. So I'm actually going to lean Mo Alley Cox. Lovie Smith, his defensive scheme, the Tampa 2, the big, the tight ends eat that up all day. And I think Matt Ryan is going to over the middle, and I like Mo Alley Cox today.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, I like where Bob's head's at on this one. I'm with Mo Alley Cox. Think they work that play action game and get him at least a couple of catches. Hunter Henry, they're both kind of touchdown dependent, but I'm leaning Alley Cox in this one.
Matt,
this is the decision that gives fantasy owners ulcers, right? It's just Kittle's out, and the guy's probably been sitting at the bar for 3 days hoping Kittle plays. But I'm with Mo Alley Cox as well. I don't think Hunter Henry's the same player he was with the Chargers.
I agree. We don't know what that New England offense is going to look like. You still do have Jono over there and a couple, a ton of what at least, and I just don't think that they're going to have as much to move the ball there through the passing game. I agree there. Mo Alley Cox, Nolan McManus, full PPR, CEH, AJ Dillon, Chase Edmonds for 2 and a flex. Oh, RB2, excuse me, RB2 and a flex. So we're picking 2 of these guys. Paul, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, I'm going CEH and Chase Edmonds on this one, and this is mostly tied to that PPR setting. I don't know what we're going to get out of AJ Dillon. I'm kind of nervous about that Packer game, to be honest with you.
Matt, it seems like you disagree.
Well, Paul and I obviously aren't close. We're not friends after today. I'll DM him about this. So my pick of the year, right? You're going to hear it here first. AJ Dillon has 50-plus catches. AJ Dillon has 13-plus touchdowns. He is going to roll or going to play both running backs all the time. And Chase Edmonds is not James Conner, and he's not in Arizona anymore. It's the season of Raheem Mostert and AJ Dillon. So I go.
Oh, how about the Heem shout out?
Yeah, I've got him everywhere I could possibly roster him, and I have an article up that says why he's a great double-digit round draft pick, even though it's too late for drafts at this point. But yeah, for me, CEH, AJ Dillon, and I won't have the AJ Dillon hate from anybody.
Heem just needs to stay healthy. Bob, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm going to go CEH and Dillon. The Edmonds situation, I'm not sure what the split's going to be with Mostert yet. And they're playing New England. Not sure what that's going to be like. But anyway, I'm going to go CEH and Dillon.
Excellent. I also am going to go CEH and Dillon. CEH, I'm not crazy about CEH. I actually faded him pretty much all summer long. There's a lot going on in Kansas City. But, again, week 1, we know what CEH can bring. So, for me, it's going to be that. AJ Dillon, I agree. It's going to be on the field. I actually don't dislike Chase Edmonds necessarily. But of this 3, I would go CEH and AJ Dillon in week 1. Jared Black, need a flex. Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper, and Brandon Ayuk. Nice trio. Lots of question marks all over the field. New quarterback with Russ and Cortland Sutton, plus a big run game for Denver Broncos. Amari Cooper's got Jacoby Brissett and what else in Cleveland. And then, again, Brandon Ayuk flashed with Trey Lance down the stretch last year. But as we've mentioned already, big-time storm potentially in Chicago at kickoff. Matt, why don't you knock this one out?
Thanks for nothing, right? Oh, my God. What a rough start. I'm just staring at the 3 names, hoping one jumps out. I think I would go with Judy, but I'm not. I mean, just really, it's flip a coin on all three. Is there a 3-headed coin? I don't know. I probably Judy, though I don't own him or Ayuk anywhere. So I'd probably go with Judy. Russ is the best quarterback out of the three, so that's where I would lean.
Matt, we'll pause on you just for a second because we didn't get full or half PPR. Can you if it sways either one of you guys, can you just give us like a half this guy, full this guy, otherwise across the board? So is Judy half or full for you, Matt, or would it change?
I'd probably go Judy all formats.
Okay, Bob.
I'm probably going to go Judy here. Seattle last year was one of the most slot-heavy funnel defenses in football. They allowed a lot of points to the slots where Jerry Jeudy gets a lot of his targets. Hopefully, I actually don't have a clue because we don't know if KJ Hamler's the slot receiver now. So touche, Bob, for bringing that up. So I'm going to go Judy though, either way.
All right, Paul.
I'm going to lean Amari Cooper here. I know Brissett's nothing special, but I mean, he's an NFL quarterback. He's going to pass for 200 some yards probably. Not all of it can go to Njoku. I think Cooper gets maybe half of those and go with the known commodity here.
It's impossible to predict somebody that we're not thinking that is going to go off today. It happens every single year. And everyone's like, what, I mean, I remember a couple years ago, the Ravens versus the Dolphins, Lamar put up 5 touchdowns in the first half. Marquis Brown had like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns or something insane. Amari Cooper feels like that sneak attack guy for some reason. I've been fading him all summer long, but I get that gut feeling. So I might lean your way there, Paul, reluctantly, but I could see it happening. All right, 13 thoughts. Best running back handcuff waiver rankings. I've stashed Gainwell, Eno, and Foreman. So let's keep it to these 3 for sake of the show. But of course, you can catch everybody's rankings on Razzball and at Fantasy Pros, as well as we've all ranked ours there in the expert rankings. So let's keep it here. Best running back handcuff waiver rankings for these 3. Kenny Gainwell, Eno Benjamin, and Deonta Foreman. Let's go with Bob on this one.
Well, I think Gainwell, to me, is probably the best one, mostly because of the fact that I know that based on what the Eagles did down the stretch last year, they were the number 1 rushing team in football. They basically went all in on the ground game. I think he's a good pass catcher, and if Miles Sanders were to go down, he's going to have that 3-down roll. Benjamin might not even be out Darrell Williams yet. We actually don't know if he's the true handcuff. It sounds like he is, but we don't know. And then Foreman, he might be splitting with Chuba Hubbard if CMC went down. So I'm going to actually go Gainwell here.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, I'm with Bobby on that. Gainwell for sure out of this group. Eno, I like the talent, but they also have Keontae Ingram there too, who looked pretty good preseason, and he's got the size to.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. You got Paul Blake's deep dynasty names are coming out.
Yeah. I can't help it. It's compulsive at this point. And then Foreman. Yeah, I think he's a 2-down back. So I think it's actually in the order where I would actually have it.
I love it. Matt?
Gainwell, and I'm not interested in the other 2.
Fair enough.
I don't think Miles Sanders is what Philly fans would hope Miles Sanders would be, so I'll go with Gainwell.
I don't either, but again, week 1, I mean, I feel like they just got to, pump them against the Lions. The Lions defense is actually, I think, much more impressive than people give it credit for, so we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I agree. I like Eno a lot as kind of the year-long handcuff there in Arizona, but seventh round picks generally have a tough time staying on the field. Dimitri is back for looks like let's see, how would you prioritize thoughts on the receivers? All right, let's go with this one down here. Same question, kind of just 2 different submissions there. Dimitri's back here. Thoughts on the Packers wide receivers today? Matt, we'll kick off with you here. How would you prioritize half PPR?
I'd go with the running backs and Tanyan.
Running backs and Tunney. Okay, so you're fading.
I would probably fade my own team's wide receivers with Lazard out. I would go somewhere else if you have the opportunity. If you have to stick with Green Bay, I'd probably go with Week 1 Watkins. As much as I want to throw up all over my keyboard,
it's so crazy.
It is.
I mean, the veteran with Rodgers. I mean, that's not. I mean, it sounds crazy.
Yeah, and remember,
logically, I think
outside of Bakhtiari and Tanyan, who Rodgers loves the most, he demanded that they bring Randall Cobb back. So Randall Cobb will get you a 2-touchdown game every season, and then he'll just disappear into the ether. So you never know with Randall Cobb. He's healthy right now, right? So he's a decent NFL receiver still, but something tells me to fade them all and go Tunney and the running backs.
Bob?
So last season, Minnesota was one of the best matchups for wide receivers. So I understand the question, and they were a slot funnel defense. So I think if it's full PPR, I think Cobb might be able to get you like a nice, low end flex. It's a half. Oh yeah, half PPR. Yeah, I'm personally, like I said, I'm not probably going to be excited to start any of these guys. But I would probably go Cobb if I'm in any type of PPR format. But I think Matt's right though. I'm going to go probably the AJ Dillon route versus this anyway.
Okay, Paul.
So this is one area where I'm actually going to contradict myself. I would roll the dice. I'd go Dobbs here. I do like Cobb, and week one Watkins. I guess that's okay before he disappears like a fart in the wind. But I would definitely lean Dobbs here. I think he's as healthy as he's going to be. He's not your average rookie. He caught 43 balls as a freshman, and he just keeps catching passes all throughout his college career. So I think he's got more experience than most rookies, and I think this is a good game for him.
And I hope Paul's right. Hand to God, I hope Paul's right.
Disappear like a fart in the wind. I just want to – is that a Shawshank Redemption reference?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, good work.
First thing in the morning, folks. I look tired. I am tired, but I'm also very sharp.
So that means your TV remote broke on TBS, right?
I've seen that movie 93 times, I think. Never with curse words. So – it's been TV on TBS for 25 years.
I'll teach you how to stream for free. My 12-year-old told me how we can stream for free. So
great film. I feel like I just shouldn't at this point. It's more like the nostalgia of knowing the blanks. All right, Jared Black coming back with the full PPR. We got you your question, bud. Thanks, appreciate you real much. We got a couple more questions here. Bob, maybe you could be on standby. I know that Paul just dropped in here that J.K. Dobbins is officially out. Or Matt, excuse me. Give credit where credit's due there. So J.K. Dobbins is officially out. We're going to have maybe just a quick injury run through, Bob. If you could pop that back up, or if you do it, I'll run through it real quick, but just have that kind of on cue here so we can run through that after these next three questions. All right, Jefferson 23, ETN or Eli Mitchell, half PPR. Ooh, it's my boy. Let's go with Matt here.
I like Eli Mitchell in a mutter game. And again, I want to see what ETN does. Plus James Robinson being 100%. So there is nobody challenging Eli Mitchell until Ty Price Davis, dynasty name drop, comes up later.
There you go.
Baba?
Yeah, I'm going to go Elijah Mitchell. Those bad weather games tend to lean the run, but also this is an elite matchup against this Chicago Bears front that just doesn't even have Akeem Hicks anymore. So I'm actually going to lean Mitchell here.
All right, Paul?
Yeah, you think about just a year ago when these guys were drafted, and ATN, first round pick, Eli Mitchell, like a fifth round pick, but here we are 1 year later, and I'm leaning Mitchell in this game.
Man, I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm going to go with Mitchell because I know what the 49ers are going to do with Mitchell until the wheels fall off. They've done it for 5 years in a row. That's why these guys continue to get hurt. So I don't see Mitchell lasting until week 10, unfortunately. But in week 1, I'm going to go Mitchell. And in a slug, I expect the 49ers to run the ball 35 times today. And Mitchell will get at least 20 of those. So I agree. ETN, though, should be a lot of fun in full and half PPRs with all those checkdowns. All right, Breck PF, Breece Hall, Cordero Patterson. Big time question marks with both these guys full PPR. And Matt, let's go with Paul here. Paul, you can kick this one off.
This one hurts my heart. Bobby knows I love Breece Hall, but I got to lean Cordero here, even though, both of them are huge question marks. The PPR is part of it, but I just don't want to touch that Jets offense, at least not in week 1 until they show something.
I agree. Matt?
I just posted this morning, probably right when Bobby woke up. I did a hot and a not on Reddit. My hot was AJ Dillon, as I keep dropping his name until somebody listens, and my not was Breece Hall. So based on that, and I don't want to backtrack, I'll go Cordero Patterson, I guess. Again, I want to see what can the Jets do with Flacco, right? They're saying for maybe 4 weeks. So let's see if the team stack the front against Breece Hall. And is the Michael Carter news 50-50 split really the truth? So
yeah, let's make sure we don't have any Joe Flacco slander on the channel, or Bob might retire on the spot. So let's keep that to a minimum. Bob, go ahead.
Well, before we even get any further, first off, number one, Joe Flacco is going to be Joe Cool. He's got 3 good receivers. I guarantee you, there's no difference. Zach Wilson has proven shit in his career so far. So honestly, I think Flacco's not even the problem. The problem for me is Michael Carter. Like, we don't even know. This could be a Henderson, Cam Akers situation where we drafted the wrong guy early, at least for week 1 especially. So Patterson, by the way, had like 10 yards rushing versus the Saints in 2 games last year. Neither of these options are ideal. I'm not going to lie. I would personally try to avoid both of these guys, but I'm going to lead Cordell Patterson if I have to pick one.
Paul?
Oh, yeah, I'm Patterson on this one.
I'm going to go Patterson too. Again, week 1, the Falcons run game, nobody knows what's going to happen. Eventually, it's Algier. I think right now it's going to be Patterson as well. And make Breece Hall prove it to you, which he will eventually. But week one, go with what you know for now. I would rather be pleasantly surprised that Breece Hall gets 20 carries and goes nuts and be like, okay, you're in my lineup the rest of the season, than get cute and have him get 3 carries. All right, Derek, last question here, Bob, and then we're going to go with a quick injury review. I'm happy to do it for you if you'd like, but let's get everybody updated. We got a bunch of questions charting on pile 30. Once again, if you're just joining the Razzball Fantasy Football Show, we are here every single Sunday for 3 hours up until kickoff. We appreciate you joining us. Make sure to hit the subscribe bell. It takes 2 seconds. Follow us down below. We got the podcast rolling, which we're all on weekly for various days. Come and find us on the podcast. Follow the YouTube channel, obviously, and make sure to hit those comments. And during the week as well, you can find our rankings on razzball.com as well. So make sure to follow us, and we appreciate everybody jumping in with us this morning. Happy week 1, and Merry Christmas to Matt. All right, Derek, Waddle or Penny in the flex? Bob, we got to go with you as the house Penny truther in general here. Waddle or Penny? Waddle is cleared. He was highly questionable for the last 3 weeks or so. Kind of a scare there in Miami for just a second, but he is going to suit up this week. So Waddle or Penny in the flex, full PPR, Bob?
That's a good question, man. I'm actually going to go. Yeah, I haven't really.
Good job, Derek.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Penny just because of the Denver situation and their offensive line problems. But yeah, I'm going to go Waddle, full PPR. No real reason, to be honest with you. It's just because I'm not really high on either of these guys for week 1, so I'm going to go Waddle.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm leaning Waddle on this one too. Penny looked pretty good, but honestly, DJ Dallas looked good. So did Travis Homer. I wonder what that Seattle backfield's going to look like. I know Waddle's going to get some targets. I'm going Waddle.
Matt?
So Derek is the reason I'm at Razzball. So shout out to Derek for linking me up with the baseball side with Matt Truss. And he's throwing us a little bit of love this morning. He's one of the subscribers that is new for us, Bobby. So good to see and hear from Derek. I'm Waddle here. I think even with Walker's injury, I think they said it's sports hernia related. I'm still going with Waddle, probably all season over Penny.
Awesome. Colton, let's see, itty bitty South City. We got Jefferson. We got a handful of questions coming through the pipeline here, but Bob, can we take a quick commercial break and get into a reviewed, just a kind of overview again, just a blast through our injury report?
Yeah, first off, I wanted to say a couple things. We're excited. There's a couple things going on today. We're going to be here all summer long. All fall, all season long, talking about start sits every Sunday. But another thing we're excited about too is we're going to be starting a partnership with one of a great charity. It's called Good Sports. So every year we basically want to give back to the community, the football community. We want to make sure that we're showing love too. So basically on this show, we put in a lot of work. We appreciate any donation. If you want your start sit questions answered quickly, we love donations, but we're excited to announce that we're going to be partnering with Good Sports. Good Sports is a charity organization that actually provides equipment to underprivileged communities to help kids play sports. So 10% of any donation you give to the show to get your questions answered, $1 here, $1 there, 10% will go to Good Sports. We're excited for that partnership for 2022. And then also for the injury standpoint, we want to make sure people are on top of it. J.K. Dobbins, breaking news, is out. We talked a little bit about this for Mike Davis. Now, keep in mind that the Ravens do have 2 injuries up front on the offensive line. Ronnie Stanley might not play today, and also their center is banged up, playing less than 100%. I think Mike Davis is a desperation flex play in that scenario. But let's jump into the other one. Alan Lazard officially out. George Kittle officially out. When you're thinking about, we talked a bunch about these Packers questions today with, who to pick. We love Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones is one of my favorite DFS plays, especially in DraftKings. It's full PPR. George Kittle without. That should allow Deebo Samuel and Ayuk to see more targets, but I think this is a big ground game today with Trey Lance with his legs and Elijah Mitchell. Michael Thomas is officially in. Logan Thomas officially in. Jacoby Myers, Drake London, Zach Ertz all officially in, and along with Chris Godwin most likely will play tonight as well. We talked a little bit earlier about Donald Parham. He's the backup tight end for the Chargers. This might be giving Gerald Everett some extra bump in routes and targets today. So Everett is a nice streamer if you need a tight end. Rondale Moore out again. Will be out this week. So I do think that if you're looking for some, silver lining, I think Marquis Brown is now a must start. And Zach Ertz, even playing at less than 100%, we'll see more targets go through his way. Gallup and Washington, of course, out for the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz probably are must starts this week. Tyron Smith is out as well. That's going to be a big ding to Dak Prescott in that offense, especially against a really strong front. I think Zeke is a very sketchy start this week as well. Some of the defensive starters that are out that are notable, Shaquille Leonard, out against the Texans. That's a slight boost for a guy like Dameon Pierce. J.C. Jackson's out. That's a good news for Devontae Adams. Jimmy Ward plays a lot in the slot, is a safety. I think Darnell Mooney might have a decent day, but we'll have to watch the weather. Paul Blake will give us an update later. Greedy Williams as well is out. That's an outside cornerback. That's good news for DJ Moore against the Browns. Paulson Adebo, who's the other corner outside for the New Orleans Saints, is out today. That's the starter alongside Marshawn Lattimore. We expect Matt Lattimore to see a lot of Drake London, so that could open things up for other receivers. Deion Jones, stud linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons, is out today. That's good news for Alvin Kamara. Try to get him in DFS lineups. And finally, the Giants are down 2 starters in the front 7. Derrick Henry is going to eat their lunch. As a Giants fan, I'm not excited to watch it.
All right, let's move on here. We got a bunch of questions. Colton, I see you in here about 9 times, my man. So I assume you're already a subscriber if you're pulling that kind of start my lineup. But if you're not, give us 3 subscribes somehow. I appreciate it. All right, let's go here. We'll bump these out best we possibly can here. We're going to have a line change here in a few minutes. Let's crank out the rest of these as best we can. So Colton wants to know.
Can we just talk about his profile photo?
Fire. He's ready.
Well, no, Sky, wait a second. Shout out to him because he used to watch us last year on Fantasy Focused. He found us on here. Shout out to Colton, bro. That a boy. Thanks for jumping on, finding us. I love the investigation. That's good, man. Finding us on. We are Razzball Fantasy now. We're going to try to get Bucket and Ryan on here as much as we can, too, to jump on with us. But, yeah, thanks for finding us. We appreciate it.
The fantasy stalker is for real.
That's right. So this is either like maybe like a homecoming, maybe a prom, or it's just like draft day.
No, that's Wednesday. That's Wednesday for Colton.
Wednesday for Colton. Heading off to. Oh man, my man's going to get a coffee in the suit and the bow tie. BT Dubs. All right, Colton. Here we go, man. We're gonna blast out your questions. Thank you for coming over from Fantasy Focus to Razzball. We appreciate you. Let's roll here. Again. So I guess settings don't matter per se for this one, but let's go. Rodgers, Cousins. Matt, we'll start with you. Do it. You got to say it. You have to say it.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. We won't hold it against you, but that's the right answer.
Just say yes.
I'm probably going to sign off now.
Rodgers has no weapons. What are you going to do?
I think the problem is with Rodgers is that he still performs well. I mean, Rodgers isn't one of those people. If you look at the games without Devontae Adams in his career, he's been very good. And these Minnesota games have been pretty interesting, to say the least. But Cousins has lit up the Packers. The last time he played them just last year, he went for 341 and 3. So I think these are the games you want to start Kirk Cousins. So I'm going to go Kirk Cousins.
Paul?
Yeah, Captain Kirk for me.
Captain Kirk. There you go.
Hey, Universal. Bobby, did he win that game where he went 341 and 3?
No, but we don't care about winning.
No. He did 34-31. I'm looking at it right now.
Busted.
So, boom. Yeah.
I was just asking.
All right. Look, we're basically setting Colton's lineup. I remember now. So we can do this here. We're going to set his lineup. Let's be as quick as we can, gentlemen. We got a lot to get to. Give me a couple names here. So Fournette, James Conner, Patterson, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, Sterling Sharp, I imagine, or maybe that's Shepard. I want Sterling Sharp, bro. It's way better. Mike, I don't even know if Sterling Shepard's still in the league. So we'll go with Mike Williams. So 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Bob, we'll start with you on this one.
Fournette, Connor, Adams, Brown, Williams. Oh, 1 wide receiver. Sorry. Adams, Williams, Connor, Fournette. There you go. 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. There you go.
Paul.
So I would go Fournette, Connor, Adams and AJ Brown.
Matt?
I'm with Paul.
Same. Love me some Mike Williams, but let's go with AJ Brown in week 1. I think he gets absolutely peppered in this game.
Yeah, and I believe the Charger game is the highest implied total, if that helps Colton at all.
Okay, let's get a tight end question here for Colton, and we got one more here as well. So tight end, Schultz or Irv Smith, Matt?
Schultz.
Baba?
Schultz.
Paul?
Love Schultz today. Probably second target, maybe third target out of the Cowboys today.
Mahomes or Prescott? We'll keep with you, Paul.
Mahomes on that one.
Matt?
Mahomes.
Bob?
Patrick.
Love it. Let's switch it up here a little bit. Itty bitty South City 650. Full PPR. Pick 1 flex. Eli Mitchell, AJ Dillon, Devonta Smith, Romeo Doubs. Matt, we know your answer, but go ahead and tell us.
I'll go Eli Mitchell.
Didn't know your answer. Thank you for telling us.
Against
Bob,
the
go
Bears.
ahead.
You can't lose.
Elijah Mitchell. Elijah
All right.
Mitchell for me.
Paul?
Let's make it a sweep. I'm going Elijah Mitchell.
All right. Just got to hold the ball. All right. Fournette, Jones, Rashad Penny, James Conner, Javonte Adams, Brandon Cooks. You see the names on the screen. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bob Woods getting a shout out. Love it. 2 running backs, wide receiver, and a flex. Obviously, we're setting lineups here. Matt, we'll start with you on this one.
Jones, Javonte, Cooks, and probably flex with Fournette.
Bob?
Jesus. What is going on with this?
It's a 4-team
team,
league.
man?
4.
I know, like, man. Yeah, this is crazy.
Could be dynasty too.
Yeah, I guess we don't know if it's full PPR, right? I mean, honestly, I'm going to have a hard time sitting Fournette, Jones, and Connor at all. I mean, Connor was an absolute stud when you know Edmonds, and Edmonds is not around. So I'm going to go the 3 big-time running backs there.
Got it. Paul?
All right, yeah, Connor's got to be in there. I'd probably go Fournette out of those other ones. Amon-Ra St. Brown looks good to me. And then for the last one, I just kicked Jones in the flex there. Yeah. All right. That makes sense.
Jefferson 23 is back. Thanks for the shout out. You got it, brother. Follow up here. ETN or Juju? Bob?
Juju.
Paul?
Let's go. Oh, gosh, this is hard. Juju.
Matt?
Juju, and I don't love it.
Same. Andrews or Schultz? Matt?
Schultz. Or no. Pardon me. Mandrews.
Yeah.
Bob?
Andrews is the number 1 tight end on the week. Book it.
Of the season, mark it down.
No,
if Kyle Pitts doesn't go off, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Bold and spicy, like my Chex Mix. I'll go Mark Andrews here.
A little simming in the Chex Mix. Love it. Itty bitty South City's back here. Full PPR. Pick 1. Eli Mitchell, Christian Kirk, Hunter Renfrow, Elijah Moore. Nice switching up some names here. Paul, I'll start with you.
Ooh, I do like your receivers that you have listed here, but I'm going to lean Mitchell actually for this one.
Okay, Matt?
I'm going to go with Kirk.
Babo?
I'm going to go Mitchell as well.
All right. Keith, flex spot in PPR. Elijah Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Edmonds. Matt?
And I said I'd never do it. You're going to hear it, though. Mooney for me.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's the weather's terrible, I go Mooney.
I think we need to know more about this weather. I think Paul Blake is just – he doesn't even know. He's just – what's going on over there? I mean,
put your arm out the window.
That is like in my head now because I would have said Mooney here, but if it's going to be shitty weather, I'm not going to want to play a Chicago. I'm going to say Mooney. Watch the weather report. If it's bad, as if pouring, follow Paul Blake's Twitter feed, Paul Blake PB12 on Twitter, and if it's bad, it's bad. Otherwise, I'll probably go. If it's bad weather, Chase.
It's at Paul Blake Weather Dynasty.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm looking outside right now, and it's died down, but it's still raining, and it's been raining since like 6 a.m. So I don't know.
I changed my answer to Elijah Moore. I'm sorry, Elijah Moore. If it's bad weather.
Man, Bob just can't quit the Flacco hype. I love it. All right,
well, I'd be Edmonds out of this group. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Do we have a dupe applicant? We do. First one to catch me. Well done, Keith. You get a prize for fooling me this early. Well done. Lastly, for discussion's sake, Dak or Cousins? To make it quick, Matt.
Cousins.
Bob.
Cousins.
Ooh, Paul?
I'm Cousins as well. I love the weapons. I like the Vikings offense this year.
I agree. Big up Itty Bitty. Got to subscribe. Thank you so much. Everybody that's tuning in here, please make sure to subscribe. It means a lot to us. We're creeping in on 1,000. We're almost there. We wanted to get a preseason. We're almost there, so we appreciate it. Thank you so much, Itty Bitty. Big ups to you. Alexander, start Pollard or CEH, drop Lazard and pick up Dobbs? ? Thanks. Matt, why don't you kick us off on this one?
I think we already answered the CEH versus Pollard with CEH, and I'm not dropping Lazard. No way.
Bob?
Yeah, I'm going to go CEH. I am not dropping Lazard at all.
Paul?
I'm actually leaning Pollard between those two. I like Pollard more than CEH. I think CEH is going to cede a lot of carries to Pacheco, and I would not drop Allen Lazard. I think he's a good player. I do really like Dobbs, though. Is there anyone else you could drop?
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go here. Okay, let's see. Let me catch up a little bit. I know we've got a lot of people in here who want to try to switch up the names. Oh, my goodness. My man.
Scott Eminger.
Scotty, yo. All right, so the wave is starting to happen, folks. Fantasy
Yeah.
Focus people are coming over to Razzball. We so appreciate the transfer. Scott, super duper big time supporter of Fantasy Focus last year. Won one of our jersey giveaways last year. Big time Bills Mafia. So Scott, shout out to the giant dub opening night there. Well done. I don't see a question in here, my man. Feel free to jump in the chat and I'll get right to you. It's great to hear from you really quick. Colton wants to come back here. I remember your names when we started talking. Loved you guys. It was on Twitch, and their fantasy options weren't good compared to you guys. Well, no shade to Twitch, but you said what you said. I sat at 9 a.m. waiting for the tap. We appreciate you. Thank you. So we're here first thing in the morning. Bob and I are on the West Coast. It's 7 a.m., folks. We're rubbing the eyes, and we're here for you right away. So we appreciate you guys so much. All right, Dimitri, let's get in here. Last one. Thanks for all of these. You're very welcome. Half PPR Flex, Heem, Romeo Dobbs, Chris Godwin, Jahan Dotson. Man, lots of question marks here, Bob.
Raheem Mostert. You know the problem? So I'm not going to start Godwin. He's got an ACL brace on his knee as a receiver. I'm not dealing with that. Dotson, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach, and Dobbs. So I'm actually going to go Raheem Mostert here.
Paul?
For me, it's between Dobbs and Dotson, and I'm going Dobbs on this one.
Got it. Colton just explained a little bit here. I got my second league. We got 6 people. Nice. Love those rosters.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. Before we throw any shade, I'm going to tell you right now, I'd much rather have a league of 6 really engaged
I'm with you.
owners than have 10 and 4 guys who are just not into it. So Colton, keep doing you, bro. It's not, I'm jealous. I would love to have a 6-team league, have a budget. You don't even have start sit questions anymore. You're just like, I want to start. You can't. And you know what, Scott? You say you hate the thing of starting your studs. Well, this league, they're all studs. So then,
I'm not a hater on start your studs. I'm just not like an automatic got to start my studs guy. That's like a huge thing. And like, sometimes just like start your studs no matter what. It's like they're not always your studs. Speaking of studs. DT just confirmed the Chicago weather is horrendous. So we do have confirmation on bad weather in Chicago. Eli Mitchell, 56 carries, 325 yards, 9 touchdowns. You heard it here first, folks.
And I just want to let the world know that's like Razzball corporate. So not only the people on screen, listen, you're going to get the best quality now because our corporate team is watching us. So Matt, watch what you say. Paul Blakewood is where this. Everyone, just let you know, we're going to be at the top of our game now because we know that Razzball is watching always. So this is good
DT.
stuff.
Good morning, brother. Great to hear from the boss.
Yeah.
And right below Donkey Teeth is my boss. My wife is actually checking in. She doesn't want anything to do with sports or fantasy. But I tell you what, she just earned herself something shiny when she gets back from Tampa. So
nice job.
Love it.
Love the
Appreciate
support.
y'all. Yeah. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I just want to give a shout out here. Itty Bitty, thanks for the suggestions. Appreciate y'all. All right, Itty Bitty's fired up. Colton giving a little more backstory in both leagues. I got a guy, just picked Alabama guys. Love that. And I love Alabama. They're my team. If you just had a fantasy team, we should do this sometime. I just saw, who was it? It was it ESPN or NFL.com. Somebody just put out the top schools. It was like the top 12 schools with the most players in the NFL. It would be interesting to take those top 4 schools and create a fantasy lineup of just Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame, LSU players and see what that team looks like, because that could be pretty exciting. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. I'm going to pop off. I'm out for the rest of the week. I got some travel today, but I would just want to appreciate everybody for jumping in. Thank you guys so much, Paul and Matt and Bob. We got the pros on here. I'll be back with you next week, and we'll get it done for the next 3 hours, of course. Best of luck to everybody in week 1. And again, when you wake up tomorrow and your team's either crushed or they got crushed, it happens. Please do not overreact. Make sure you tune in to Razzball.com and hit all of our articles, hit the podcast, download the podcast. Make sure you come back to the YouTube channel as well. Appreciate you guys. Best of luck to everybody, and hopefully the Niners can get through the slog there with the dub. We got a couple more questions in, but I'm going to sign off. Best of luck to everybody. Happy week 1 and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, love
Thanks,
it.
Guy.
So let's do the next one here, guys. I'm going to take a full point PPR pick 1. Edmonds versus New England. Sanders versus Detroit. Which one you guys got? Matt, going to you first.
Is that Miles Sanders?
Yeah, Miles Sanders.
Gotta be right. Well, I hate Edmonds, right?
Well, who's the other Sanders right now?
Isn't there an Elijah Sanders? There's got to be an Elijah Sanders.
You mean Emmanuel Sanders? No, he's retired.
He retired. Manny Sanders.
Yeah.
I'm doing baseball and football. The name
That's
Sanders
true.
is just
That's
a little
true.
too vanilla for me. And
That's
you know what? I'm going Raheem Mostert out of those 3, and he's not even listed.
What about you, Paul?
I'm a believer in Edmonds. I think he's going to do something, maybe nothing great, but he's going to do something, I think, for Miami. So my money's on him. And actually, guys, this is going to be my last one. Family's back, so I got a family indoor picnic because it's pouring down rain. But yeah, it was really fun being with you guys. Thanks for the questions, everybody. Keep going to Razzball. Loved it. Can't wait for next week if we do it again.
All right, man. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.
So this one for me, I'm actually going to be looking at Sanders because the run game matchup. If you look at the down the stretch of 2020, and hey Matt, listen, now it's just the two of us. Like now we can talk a little bit. We can talk a little more detail now. We don't have to deal with those other two guys. You're here for the real detailed stuff now. This is good stuff. So my biggest thing with this question is that number one, when you're looking at Edmonds versus New England, we don't know what that split's going to be yet necessarily with Raheem Mostert. It doesn't, because Mostert, I'll admit, Mostert's a better runner. I think he knows the scheme better. I think Edmonds is going to be the passing guy. But when you look at that San Francisco style offense, the running backs don't see a lot of targets. I mean, really, because they are using a lot of quick hitters to the receivers, using yards after the catch. And I think you got Waddle and Tyreek Hill, which takes away from the running backs. But Miles Sanders, I think, is an underrated play. Detroit last year was horrific against the run. In my matchup, they're number 2. It's the Packers 1, Eagles 2, and my adjusted line yards metric that I put together. So I'm all in on Sanders this week. Plus, we saw the Eagles down the stretch last year. I mean, they were number 1 in rushing attempts over the second half of last year. Sanders averaged 6 yards per attempt. I've never met a player who people hate more than Miles Sanders. He averaged 6 yards per attempt last year. It's like the craziest thing. No one wants him. No one likes him. The guy just scored 0 touchdowns on the ground. So I think that from that perspective, I think Sanders is close to a must start depending on running backs you have, but he's a guy I'm really excited about this week. Any thoughts about that?
All jokes aside, right? I put Mostert in there, but I think Sanders is the guy. And I think if I remember correctly, I've done a lot of research and a lot of reading, but I think Pro Football Focus has the Eagles offensive line at 1 or 2 with the Browns. I think it's 1. So with that, it has to be Sanders. Edmonds, again, even if he starts, is probably the third downish pass catching back, and Waddle and Tyreek Hill are just going to eat passes. They're just going to catch everything. I've got them both at over 100 catches for the year, so I don't think that the running backs are going to be as involved as some may think, and I think Mostert takes over down the stretch.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so shout out to a couple of our guys here, Itty Bitty, South City. Thanks for joining, man. Come back next week. Come back all season long. We'll be rocking. We appreciate you guys jumping on. Colton, of course, you're welcome, bro. Honestly, come back. We'll answer as many questions you want. 4-team league to 15,000 team league. We got you back, though, always, man. We're excited. The Mike Jordan is on the show officially. Listen, if you're a Bulls fan, I know we got a couple Chicago people on the Razzball team. Mike Jordan is coming from the Bulls to ask us a question about fantasy football. Full PPR needs 1 flex. You got Metcalf against Denver, Rashad Penny against Denver, A.J. Dillon playing against the Minnesota Vikings. So which one are you going to go here, Dillon or one of the Seattle guys?
And you've heard me sell it all morning, right? It's A.J. Dillon for me. Now, with that, I don't want to get written up by the boss. Donkey Teeth would tell you that it's DK Metcalf, and he's higher on Metcalf and Geno Smith than anybody. But for me, it's A.J. Dillon. I think that Green Bay's going to have to score to win today, and they're going to have to score in the 30s to beat Minnesota.
I think a lot of people brought this up. I gotta understand DK Metcalf. It's funny, people are lower on DK than the consensus, and I understand that going from Russell Wilson to Geno is a problem. But did anybody actually look at DK Metcalf's game logs last year when he played with Geno Smith? The guy scored 4 touchdowns in 4 games. Like, he was very good with Geno Smith, and he actually had very productive stat lines in the receiving yards category. So really, I think the biggest change is that, number one, the efficiency, of course, is going to go down. Obviously, Russell Wilson is one of the most efficient passers. We get all that. But DK was fine. However, that being said, I just brought up my running game metric. The Packers are number 1 against Minnesota. So, and I think a lot of the offensive tackle issues for the Packers is being overblown. I mean, last year they didn't play with David Bakhtiari, and Jenkins missed most of the year too. So, yeah. So I think from my perspective, A.J. Dillon is a lock. I think when you start looking down the stretch of last year, when they made the switch, once Aaron Jones got hurt, A.J. Dillon started becoming the goal line back for that team, and he started getting more work in the red zone. And I think he's probably a lock for a touchdown today. So I think the Davante Adams, Allen Lazard injuries will maybe lean the Packers more to run when they get inside the 5. Because you know how many times Aaron Rodgers drops back inside the 5 and threw it to Davante Adams? That was going to be Lazard. And if Lazard's out, which he is, I think Dillon gets a touchdown today. Let's do it on Prize Picks. So let's get a little A.J. Dillon rushing touchdown. I love that. There. Speaking of, while we're waiting for some additional questions to come in, Matt, is there anything that when you were doing your research over the last few days, is there some players that really stood out today that you want to just highlight really quick that you're like, okay, if I'm playing DFS, I want to get these guys in my lineup?
So I think that if you look at the top 3 running backs, right, Taylor, Henry, and McCaffrey, as far as paying up for them goes, I'm not paying up for any of them. And the guy that just never seems to get love, DFS or season long, and I got him 3rd round in almost every draft, is Nick Chubb. 2nd best offensive line. They're going to run the ball regardless of who they're playing. And Nick Chubb is an absolute beast. The only thing that slows him down is sometimes he's in the 15 to 17 carry range, and he's not in the Derrick Henry range. But I love Nick Chubb in almost every format.
Yeah. I got to admit, I have to actually put my foot in my mouth here for a second, because I basically put together a couple charts before the season based. And of course, we only have 2021 data. You try your best to figure out, okay, did this offensive lineman leave? Did that defense lose this cornerback? And do all that stuff. But when I was looking at it, Rashad Penny, believe it or not, has the number 3 run game metric against Denver this week, which I was surprised. I was like, I thought, Denver is a run funnel defense. They are very good against the pass, but they're really, they're weaker against the run. And the Seattle Seahawks last year, even though they struggled on the offensive line, did figure it out. Look at Rashad Penny's numbers down the stretch last year. They did get a first round. Ridiculous. He was like the number 1 player in fantasy for running backs down the stretch last year, top 3 at least. So I think that Penny is actually someone that I am okay starting this week when I look at that too. But that's just something else here. Let me just jump down here. We got one more here. Howard Kim, Juju or Deontay Johnson? What do you got, Matt?
I love Deontay Johnson. I loved him since he came in the league. Not that he's been in a long time, but I'm all about him. But you've got to keep an eye on his shoulder. And I'm not a Mitch Trubisky fan. But Mitch can throw the ball a little bit. He can probably throw just as well as Ben. The problem is they're going to want to run the ball more. He's going to be under center more. So I think Deontay Johnson maybe loses some targets that he got last year with Ben throwing from the shotgun. But I will probably take him over Juju all year, if healthy.
Yeah, I'm actually the other side of this. I'm actually really high on Juju this year. Arizona secondary, they're going through some movement. I mean, obviously, Byron Murphy's a young, solid cornerback, but they don't really have that much talent in the secondary. It shows in their numbers last year. They were one of the worst teams against wide receivers last year. And listen, I know Arizona they're missing a couple key pieces in Rondale Moore and DeAndre Hopkins, but they still have a lot of explosive players. Give me the upside of that track meet between the Chiefs and the Arizona Cardinals. Listen, the Steelers and the Bengals games last year were ugly, and I understand Big Ben was a part of that too, but they were not. I mean, they were not pretty. Joe Burrow did not throw a lot. They dominated those games. Joe Mixon went off in the games against the Steelers, and I want to take a wait and see approach with Deontay. I want to see. Because he was force-fed targets by Big Ben, and I want to see if that happens. If I have an option like Juju, I'm going to play Juju with Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach with Deontay because Mitch Trubisky is more of a slot funnel guy than Ben Roethlisberger was last year. So Mitch Trubisky tends to throw the ball to the middle of the field more. Deontay plays predominantly outside. So I'm just off Deontay all year, so that's why I'm going to go with Juju in this one. Now, Scott asked about the Super Chat. Now, listen. We're going to be doing this all season long. The Super Chat function is something that we'll talk about later. We need 1,000 subscribers to get there. So follow us, give us a subscribe. The Super Chat function essentially is a way for you to skip the line. If you're ever hanging out with us and you're doing the show with us, you can actually, if you need to get a question answered right away, you can use the Super Chat function to donate. But this is a good segue. We're excited to announce that we do have an option for you. So if you are someone that is in a rush, want to get a quick question, or if you just want to donate to the show, you can via PayPal. For now, until we get the Super Chat function up and running, we're excited. If you want to, first of all, hit the subscribe button, of course. Join us live for 3 hours every day. If you want to get your questions answered right away, you could actually just use that QR code or type in Robert Lamarco on PayPal and just throw us $1 or $2, donate to the show. That'd be greatly appreciated. We will answer those questions right away. And also, the most important part is 10% of any donation made to the show will go to a charity called Good Sports. So we're excited for that partnership as well. Let's jump down to
8:36. We're climbing fast.
8:30. I love it. Yeah, subscribe because these shows are going to be mostly number one about start sits. But listen, we're going to be doing player trends. We're going to talk about different things throughout the season. I have constantly updated. We're going to have updates on best matchups for running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. We're going to have injury updates. We're going to talk about things that a lot of people aren't talking about. We're going to talk about offensive line, defensive injuries that are going to be impactful for your fantasy team. So this is more of a news show as much as it is. But the number one thing we're doing is answering your start sit questions because that's what's most important. Let's get right back into it. SBD_AIDS, Olave, Montgomery, or AJ Green. What do you got, Matt?
I said earlier to fade rookie receivers until you see how they're involved in the offense. Of the 3 season long, I probably like Olave, but for week 1, I think AJ Green is going to be the guy.
Yeah, David Montgomery against San Francisco does not feel good. It seems that offense might struggle, especially we got updates that Chicago has bad weather. I know we're excited about Mitchell, but it's difference between a good offense with a good running game versus whatever is going to happen for the Bears. Now, Chris Olave, this is another wait and see thing. I think a lot of people are underselling the fact that Jarvis Landry, number one, no one talks about. Jarvis Landry is a good receiver who's going to demand targets. So Thomas and Olave. It's Thomas, Olave, and Landry. The Atlanta Falcons are a decent matchup, though. So I'm not saying Olave is a complete fade, but I agree. I actually want to take – we know that rookies tend to be better in the second half of the year. So I'm actually going to go A.J. Green against Kansas City. Kansas City wasn't really good last year. And plus, Kansas City has a lot of movement in their secondary. They lost stud quarterback Tre'Davious Ward. Tyrann Mathieu left. They replaced him with Reed. And there's a lot of movement. And two areas of the field need the most continuity, running back, offensive lines and secondary play. So if you start moving people around in the secondary, there's a lot of communication in the back end. I think he's going to get it. And listen, we know the Chiefs are going to put up points. Take a shot on A.J. Green. I think that's a good call, Matt. So I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, Frank
Mike Jordan.
Do it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think Marquis Brown is going to be awesome today. I'm all in on him. I'm actually thinking the fact that we're talking about it so much, I'm like, I don't have any money on him today, so I might have to hop over to Prize Picks and do a quick.
Sneak look at his prop bets.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's at 5 receptions today. And so how Prize Pick? I'm going to actually try to get Prize Picks to be a sponsor because I talk about them a lot because I live in California, so I don't get the sports books, but Prize Picks does allow you to do it, so it's cool. You get player props. Yeah, they'll come around, right? Yeah, they'll come around. Let's get to this. Let's get to Mike Jordan's question. One more full P from the GOAT. Mike Jordan, love it. I love it. PPR, Albert O or David Njoku, what do you got?
So if Mike is truly the GOAT, we have to get confirmation from him that he's a subscriber. Then he's the GOAT, right?
Yes,
then we know for sure.
True.
I will be honest. I don't know enough about Albert O other than people hyped him up, and then he just went dead silent during draft season. Mm-hmm. People went into the draft season thinking this is the guy, and then he went undrafted in almost every league that I'm in. I like Njoku because he's a freak athlete, right? He reminds me of Vernon Davis, but he hasn't quite had Vernon Davis stats yet. And Vernon Davis only did it for a short amount of time, but something tells me that it's Njoku today versus Albert. I don't think Denver's going to need to throw the ball a lot to win against Seattle. I think it's going to be a lot of Melvin Gordon and even more Javonte Williams, and then Sutton and Judy. So I don't know that Albert O needs to be involved. So I'm going to go with Njoku.
This is a good question because Albert O, by the way, he played a lot in the preseason. You do not want to see your quote-unquote starting tight end on the preseason, playing into the fourth quarter in some cases. I don't know, and this is maybe a cautious approach. But my personal thing is I know David Njoku is the starter. I know he's going to be on the field. I know he's going to play. Carolina is not a great matchup. It's like slightly below average against tight ends last year. I think that, Njoku, though, with Jacoby Brissett, by the way, there's one thing we know about Jacoby Brissett. He will target his tight ends. Mike Gesicki had double-digit fantasy points in the games with Jacoby Brissett last year. And then Jack Doyle was a top 10 tight end way back in the day with Jacoby Brissett as the starter in 2017. So I'm okay with Njoku. However, Seattle is horrific against tight ends. They were the number 2 against for the most fantasy points allowed in my adjusted metric last year. So I get the question. I do. But I'm going to go with the known commodity of Njoku, and I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach on Albert O. All right, let's go down to Howard Kim. Great for the Cardinals secondary. Thanks. No problem. And this is why we're here, man. We're going to be talking through this stuff pretty much all season long. And make sure everyone's checking in. But we also want to make sure we're promoting our in-season content. So we have in-season content coming all season long. Make sure you're jumping on. And first of all, a bunch of these shows are going to be live right on YouTube around 6 o'clock every single night. But Monday night, we're going to have the Fantasy Besties on with JB and Jordan. They're going to be talking about NFL Sunday Recap every single Monday. Tuesday, you're going to have Sky, who was on earlier today. He's going to do Fantasy Football Trade Talk and Waiver Wires as well. Wednesday, you can join me and Paul Blake. We're actually going to be doing a dynasty rankings and trade targets. We're excited that we're going to be talking about. We're actually going to have a dynasty trade chart right on Razzball that you can use to help you navigate all season long to make trades in dynasty. Thursday, DT and B-Don will be back. The original OG goats of the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast will be back for starts of the week. Saturday mornings are going to be a fun one. Myself, Sky, maybe a couple other people who want to join. We're going to do player trends, DFS plays, and player props. This one's more for me. Just want to talk through all the information that I got and make myself feel better about some of the money I'm going to lose on Sunday, but it's going to be exciting. And then, of course, Sunday Live. Listen, this is really going to be a fun season. Sunday Live show, we're going to do listener star-sit questions. We're going to do injury updates and more on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. So make sure you're jumping on there as well. And hit the subscribe button. We really do appreciate you guys doing that for us. So let's go and jump down. We have another question from Scott. Scott, listen, keep coming, man. Have PPR league start. Ramondre Stevenson or Kareem Hunt? What do you got?
For me, the Patriots seem to be one of the very few teams that can have 2 legit running back ones, and they seem to get away with it in fantasy. I think this is the year Ramondre takes the next step. I think Harris is going to eat as well. Yep, go ahead.
No, I just want to keep going.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, so I think it's Stevenson over Hunt because Chubb is going to be the feature all day for the Browns.
I am going to put something up on the screen real quick. This is a live look at Chicago Field right now. I'm going to put this up. This is the kind of stuff you get on our show, right? So I'm going to show the screen real quick. This is a live look at Chicago right now. Okay? Look at this.
So partly cloudy and 55 isn't going to happen.
Look at this. Look at the rain, but look at her feet right here. This is crazy. Look at that. That's the field already. This is Chicago, San Francisco. These games lean, run. Go Elijah Mitchell. I know we talked a little bit about David Montgomery, but sorry.
And maybe Montgomery gets a tick up, right? Maybe he moves up because he's a plotter too, right? He's not Tony Dorsett. He's just kind of a guy, and maybe he's a mutter like Mitchell. Mitchell's going to go nuts today.
Yeah, I think Mitchell's a pro. I got him in my DFS lineup, and I feel even better about it already because he's got. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be huge for us too.
And by the way, sneak Zach Ertz in there for cheap.
Zach Ertz. Yeah, I mean, let's just, I actually do. Do you have this lineup? Do you have up already? I'll talk through mine. I could talk through mine. It's just,
I could build one, but being in Texas and not being able to bet, DFS drives me nuts. I want to do it. I want to do it real bad, but I can't do it here. So I tend not to build a lot of the lineups. I do.
Daily fantasy is illegal. I thought you could do it DFS anywhere.
If it's not for money, right? If it's not gambling.
I would be surprised. I honestly would double check that. I think it's daily fantasy. Usually people can do, no matter where you are.
DraftKings won't even let me get in there and do what I'm supposed to do. Now I'll check it now that you said that, but maybe I'm just not bright when it comes to tech.
Yeah. So basically, how I built my lineup is I typically like to do a very, very cheap quarterback because I want because really the best daily fantasy strategy I can give people is that. View the salary. So the salary total you get is $50,000.
Yep. So
you get $50,000 to spend on players. I like to say you want to justify 2.5 to 3 times. So what I mean by that is imagine 50,000 is 5 points. You want to get 3 times that number. I mean, you want to get 3 times that number to hit the money. So you want to get 150 points. I know that sounds like crazy, but 50,000 times it by 3, that's 150. Sure. That's essentially what I mean. So that's how I view it. So I have to justify when I pick a player, can he get 3 times that money amount? So for example, Lena Mitchell, 5,400. Can he get me, 16 points? That's how I view this stuff. So I like to go cheap quarterback because for quarterbacks, it's pretty easy. A bad quarterback can get you 15 points in the way its scoring system's set up. So that's why I went Mariota. I like his rushing ability in this game. I like the fact that, listen, London's probably going to have a tough day against Marshawn Lattimore. That's probably realistic to say. But I do think that, Kyle Pitts will get his, but I think Mariota's going to run. That's all I care about. And listen, if he gets me, 40 to 50 yards on the ground and maybe a score there, he can basically do nothing through the air, like 150 yards and another touchdown, and you got yourself your money's worth. So that's what my justification is. Aaron Jones, Minnesota is a good run. It's my number 1 run game matchup on the week. But listen, no Devontae Adams, of course, no Allen Lazard. I think he's good for like 5-6 catches in this game. This is full PPR. 6,700 doesn't even put him in the top 10. That's why I justified him there. Elijah Mitchell, we've talked to nauseum. So that's why I have him up there too. Now I have Pittman and Cooks in the same game. Listen, Houston is always a fun one. Both these teams last year struggled against perimeter wide receivers. They're both playing indoors. You're not dealing with Chicago weather up there. So I think Brandon Cooks and Michael Pittman in these games are exciting for me. I actually have your boy Christian Kirk, Matt, believe it or not, in my DFS lineup. Washington, we know Ron Rivera's on defense. There wasn't much change there. I do think that Kirk is going to be the number 1 in this offense, and Washington was horrific against wide receivers last year. Mark Andrews, I actually paid up for tight end. I typically like to pay down for tight end, but the Jets have really struggled against tight ends. Last year they were horrific against tight ends.
So what's the price for Tunney or Ertz if you were to change Andrews and try to get better somewhere else?
So Ertz is 4,400. So I would save $2,200 for Ertz, and Tunney is 3,900. So I would save significantly. Yeah. Ertz. So Kansas City last year was it was an average matchup for tight ends. And the Jets were. The other thing too is I could technically pay up. I could flip these, right? I could pay up for a tight end and then pay down for a tight end and then pay up. But when I did this originally, I actually had Joe Flacco in here because he was dirt cheap. He's like dirt cheap. He literally just needs to get you 13 points to return value. So that's why the justification. I know Joe Flacco is not. I'm not saying you start him in season long, but for DFS, he's like 4,800 for a quarterback. Like I said before, if he gets you, 13, 14 points, you got your money's worth. That's really easy for a quarterback to do in these formats. But I went Marcus Mariota, a little more security, a little more run game. But anyway.
And he's going to have to throw. Mariota's not going to just run around, and they're not going to hand the ball off to an unknown rookie running back, right? He's going to have to throw the football.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The other thing too is like Dallas Goedert has a really good matchup against Dallas, but I don't know what to expect. Like I know Mark Andrews is going to be featured by Lamar Jackson. I know for a fact with Marquis Brown gone, we don't actually. Bateman's a bigger question mark. What if Bateman demands as many targets? We know Mark Andrews is going to get a lot of looks against a top 5 matchup against the Jets. So that's why I justify going Adam Thielen here. Mark Andrews. I go Thielen. Just take a look historically at Adam Thielen's production against the Packers. Like
I don't need to.
He goes off.
Keeps me up at night.
He goes off.
Yeah.
So this one's more of like I love Thielen in the preseason process, but man, he was a absolute monster. And then I went Titans D. The Giants. I'm a Giants fan. Their offensive line is still a little banged up. We have a lot of youth on the offensive line. Daniel Jones is turnover prone. I know that they did lose a Landry recently to injury, but at the same time, the Titans, I just think the Giants will get me a couple turnovers, and I think that's why I'm justifying that pick right there.
But remember, the Giants, if you've got 7 receivers, it means you have no receivers.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do Matt's recommendation. If you actually went down let's say I went from Ertz, I actually get back $2,500. That's a lot of money. I personally like my receivers, but like if I made this switch, I could actually go from him to any quarterback I want. I could actually go Mahomes.
Or you could stack Lamar, right? Lamar with Andrews.
I could stack Lamar with Andrews.
Even though we got rid of Andrews, so never mind that.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I could have. Yeah, so I mean I could technically go. So it's Mahomes and Ertz versus Mariota and Andrews. Honestly, I don't really hate the idea, to be honest. I can actually just, let's do this. I'm going to assign this lineup to half. I'm going to do 2 and 2. We're going to check it out. There you go. So I got half of each. Perfect. I love it. All right. That's enough of that. Let's get into it. I think we got a couple more questions rolling in. Let me just pop over here. All right. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, Dimitri's got an interesting question.
Mike Jordan has his father was a butter. His butter was a butter. I was thinking the same thing. That's awesome. Oh, that's freaking great. Bobby, earlier you picked over Mostert in the flex. Can you please expand on that? I don't think I actually did pick Dotson. I actually would go Mostert. And Dimitri. I actually don't. I don't think I'd pick Dotson. I honestly don't know what to expect yet from Dotson. And Carson Wentz is now there in for the Washington Commanders. We know Terry McLaurin is going to be the guy. We know for a fact that he's the guy. Logan Thomas will play today. I know he's coming off the major injury. I'm not expecting much from him, but the Washington football team against it says New York. Why would I say that? So Washington's playing Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm going to go Mostert. I really do think Mostert's. I think Mostert might be the surprise guy of the week. I actually think that he might be the lead ball carrier. Evans might play more and might play in the past. I think Mostert's a lock for like 12 to 15 carries, and he's so explosive. I actually would go Mostert. What about you, Matt?
I would go Mostert too. For me, half-point PPR with a rookie receiver that we don't know what he's going to do yet. Like you said, McLaurin, right? They have Logan Thomas at tight end, plus Antonio Gibson. How it happened is some strange anti-divine intervention that Antonio Gibson is going to be the lead back. But I think Dotson's going to be good season long. I'm just not sure today. And again, like with Olave and we said with Drake London and Treylon Burks, I'd prefer to wait to see what these rookie receivers can do based on their involvement. So I'm going to go with Mostert, and he is an absolute home run hitter. I believe it was last season, was it 21 or 20, where his first or second carry was 80 yards. He took it to the house. Now, he's made of glass, so we have to hope that he doesn't run too much between the tackles. But for me, it's Mostert for sure.
So the other factor in this whole question, too, is the Jaguars have a brand new defensive scheme, too. Like they are – Mike Caldwell, the linebacker coach from Tampa Bay, is now there for them. So I don't really – there's a lot of change. Like you got Carson Wentz, the quarterback. He's a rookie. We don't see the production. And we also have a new defensive coordinator on the other side. Like it's hard to justify – listen, I love – the only data we have is 2021. It is what it is. Now – But the thing is, we can't really say the Jacksonville defense is going to be the same production as last year because we have a brand new defense. So they might prioritize the slot versus out wide differently. They might have a legit way to lock down tight ends. They might be, better at stopping the run. We don't know those things. And I understand that I sometimes my one thing for week one, my biggest takeaway is always go with what you know. Like, it's easy. And I understand that Mostert's new and we have a bunch of changes there too, but we've seen Mostert in this running game with Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. For what that's worth, that's a lot more than what we know with Jahan Dotson. So I think in that case, I lean a little bit in that direction. Going down to Brady, full PPR. He has Javonte as a starter already. Pick one: Penny, Gordon, Lockett, or Tolbert. That's a good nugget here because he's already got Javonte in. Do you play Melvin Gordon against Seattle as well? What are your thoughts, Matt?
You know what? I love Lockett for this year because I think Seattle's going to be trailing and he's going to get all kinds of targets. But I think the sneaky pick for tonight with Gallup out is going to be Jalen Tolbert. Unless he's asking Mike Tolbert. I don't even know if he's still in the league. I go with Jalen Tolbert. And I think that you could, Bobby, you did it earlier, right? You could probably convince me to go Penny if it's not Denver. That they're playing against on Monday night with everybody wanting Russ to win. And so I'm probably going sneaky Jalen Tolbert and shoot for the home run.
I think I love you, Matt, but I think you're crazy. I have Tolbert. I honestly have, I said Noah Brown earlier, like tongue in cheek a little bit, but Noah Brown is like the veteran guy. We actually have no idea. Honestly, I don't know who the number 2 is with Gallup not playing, Washington out. Like, I believe, because based on what you saw in the preseason, Tolbert was playing well into the fourth quarter. He wasn't getting that starter treatment. Noah Brown was, and he's a veteran who's going to be boring. I just don't know if I could trust Tolbert just yet. And listen, I'm okay with being proven wrong because you can't tell me that we actually know who the number 2 is or even number 3 is for Dallas in the receiving corps right now.
Well, I live in San Antonio, and Texas doesn't know, right? The state writ large does not know it's Tolbert. But I will tell you, I have absolutely no issue with a text from you tonight that says, buddy, you were right.
Only if you were right. If I text, I will not text you if you were wrong. I won't do that to you. I promise. So here's another thing too. When you look at the goal, I think the Javonte thing. Listen, we just talked about Penny. I was genuinely surprised. I'm actually going to go Penny here because of that run game matchup. Denver is a run funnel defense. They are much better against the pass historically. So I do think there is also change there too, right? Because Denver has a brand new offense and defense, a new coaching staff. But I don't know. And listen, for what it's worth, Seattle was okay against the run last year. They weren't horrific. They actually got killed early. Remember early on last year, they were letting up so much production in the passing game. They leveled out a little bit. So I think I'm actually going to go Rashad Penny here, especially because Walker is, of course, hurt and not playing as well. All right, let's jump out to the next one from Jake. He's got Pierce, Patterson, or Zeke at my RB2 this week, and I should trust Tunney at my flex or put one of those 3 running backs at their MT flex, at my flex. So it's Pierce, Patterson, Zeke, and Tunney. Start one running back, and you can flex Tunney, or would you flex one of these running backs?
Zeke and Pierce. Yeah, there's no question to me. I love Patterson, what he did last year, but down the stretch, he shit the bed, right? So I don't see him being the guy he was. I think defenses learned how to slow him down a little bit. I think Pierce, with Rex Burkhead being his only challenge, I think Davis Mills is better than people give him credit. So I think Houston will be okay, especially with Shaq Leonard or Darius Leonard, whatever you want to call him this year, out for the game. I love Pierce. I don't love Zeke, but Zeke is Zeke. He's going to get his carries. And so I don't trust Tunney. I don't trust Wandale Robinson. I don't trust Sterling Shepard. I don't trust Galladay. I don't trust anybody for the Giants that catches passes. So I go Pierce and Zeke.
I agree 100% with this one. The only thing I will say is Patterson is not because I think he slowed down the stretch. It's because he's playing the Saints. Like, the Saints' run defense is so good. I mean, they still are pretty good up front. They did have a lot of changes in the secondary this offseason. They let go of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They're going to have a backup to a backup at the other side corner. But I think the problem is Patterson. I'm not joking you. If you look at his stats, I think he had 9 carries for 11 yards last year against the Saints. So I don't know if I'm too excited. Yeah. I am not going to do that. So that's why I agree with Pierce and Zeke in this one. Let's jump down to Thomas Ribbon. We're going to talk Michael Thomas or Brandon Ayuk. What do you got for this one, Matt?
I hate Michael Thomas. I had him the year that he blew up, right? The year that everybody wanted him. And I've had him the 2 years after, and he's been trash and a diva and spoiled and entitled and all of that. But you just showed the weather in Chicago, right? I think Ayuk's better than what we give him credit for, but it's going to taste like bile when I say it. But give me Michael Thomas today.
Yeah, Thomas, I think you send us all the information, all the guys you got, because I agree with Matt on this one. I'm not overly ecstatic to start either one of these guys. I think Brandon Ayuk, with that weather in Chicago so bad, I would lean Thomas because of that. But if you have other options, there might be deeper names you typically wouldn't consider that we would actually pick over these two guys. So if you have a couple additional guys on your bench, send it over. But we both picked Thomas because of that weather in Chicago. We got Lena, thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Half PPR, Marquis Brown, Thielen, or Sutton. Oh, my God.
We've already said it, right? We've already sold everybody. It's Hollywood. Hollywood.
I love all three of these guys. This is a horrible question just because it's such an awesome question. This is tough. I do think I literally talked up.
It's Hollywood from you, then I'm going on mute.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go Hollywood Brown. I do think that because of the shootout potential there, I'm going to go with Brown. But good for you. Great starting. The fact that these are like the options as a second or third receiver means that you have a stud receiver there. But I love all three of these guys. Try to get as many of them into your lineups as you can. Yeah. So Thomas, we talked about the weather there. He also has Bateman. So
I go Bateman. I probably go Bateman. Remember, Lamar has been forced to bank on himself with no contract on Friday. I heard him on the radio. He's like, hey, it is what it is, right? If I get hurt, I get hurt. It's the nature of football. But they are forcing him to bank on himself. And I think that Lamar balls out, and I wish I'd had him in my season long. And by the way, to your Mark Andrews, it's going to be Mark Andrews and Lamar all season. And now, and remember with Bateman too, we learned this morning Dobbins is out.
Yep. True.
So, yep. Bateman's the guy I would go with out of those three names.
I agree. So here's the thing. The Jets are one of those teams that when I was doing my research for week 1 has made a lot of upgrades to their secondary. They got Sauce Gardner now. They got DJ Reed from the Seattle Seahawks. So they have two very good corners. I think in my opinion that I'm going to go Bateman. I am going to go Bateman. I think the Jets are an average. I mean, they did have a lot of upgrades, but this is tough. I'm going to go Bateman over Thomas and Brandon Ayuk because of the weather in Chicago. Yeah, no problem, Lena. Thanks. No problem. So she wants to ask, so in her flex, would you flex Sutton or Thielen over ETN?
So she may have the two best questions of the day.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because I don't want to answer either one of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And she drafted like a boss. Look at these names. So I've already faded Sutton once. Faded ETN once. Thielen's playing against the Packers. I guess I go Thielen, right? He just destroys my Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
And he's a year older, but and so is Cousins. But man, I think it's got to be Thielen for me.
Yeah, I think Earl. So the biggest thing with Thielen last year was that he got hurt. Yep. If you look at his production the first half of the year, he was the wide receiver 7 through like week 11. Like I was blown away by this because I have Thielen on the team. Like I'm not joking because I was looking through this. Like he just got hurt last year, but the first more than the first half of the season, the guy was finished as top 10 wide receiver. So I'm actually going to go Thielen over ETN in the flex. I think Green Bay, he's always good. He's had a big blow-up game previous years in week 1 against the Packers too. But the other thing too is just early on in the season, I think Thielen's going to be fresh. He's going to be ready to go. We might be a little worried down the stretch because he's a little bit older, but I think early on he's going to be a top stud, top 15 wide receiver.
He's healthy today.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. We got Donkey T's telling us to stop fading ETN. We're not feeding ETN, DT, okay? See, this is what I'm talking about. Corporate's it's like the eye of the sky.
Ask
like
him if he's a subscriber. Is he subscribed? Can we even talk to him?
Yeah, DT, first of all, you got to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Second, hop on the show, man. Get on the show with us, and you could explain why ETN's a must start this week. I actually am not fading ETN. I just like listen, we're talking about all studs here, right? We're talking about Sutton. We're talking about Thielen. We're talking about these great options. I just think that Dillon, to me, is going to probably get, 8 targets, 6 receptions, get close to 100 yards and a score against the Packers today. So that's why I'm taking in. But what's your thoughts on ETN overall, Matt?
I'm not sold on the Jags offense until I see Trevor Lawrence do what Trevor Lawrence is supposed to do. Like you mentioned, their defense isn't great. It's not bad. It's not terrible, but it's a new defense. So I don't know. Are they going to throw 45 times a game? Are they going to run again? And what's James Robinson really bringing to the table, being what the coaching staff says is 100% healthy, right? Who would be the starter if everything else was done in a vacuum? Is it Robinson or ETN? I think that Robinson is the better NFL running back, but ETN was the better college running back. So I guess we're lightly fading him, but had he dropped to the right spot in our season-long draft, I would have taken him, but he was going too high for me, and so I tended to pass versus fade, as I guess, or maybe it was a fade route. But yeah, if corporate's watching, then I'll keep checking over my shoulder.
The other thing with ETN, so listen, the Washington football team is fine. It's like they were actually pretty good against the run last year. In my metric heading into week 1, they're 18th, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The other thing I want to point out though, ETN is coming off a foot injury. This isn't like, I know I talked about this ad nauseum all the time. Like guys coming off serious injuries, whether it's a Liz Frank injury, an ACL, an Achilles, they typically don't, number one, they don't start off hot. And number 2, they usually don't return ADP. This is week 1. ETN, I think, averaged like 2.5 yards per carry in the preseason outside of one big run. He had like a 12-yard run, and everything else was like 2, 3. He didn't look good on the ground. So everyone's expecting him to do it through the air, which is fine. I do think that ETN is a solid flex play this week. But when you're talking about like elite stud guys like Adam Thielen, who I think in week 1 is going to go off against the Packers in a game. Listen, Aaron Rodgers is going to figure out a way to put up points. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to get in a dome game. Are they playing in Minnesota actually this week, or are they playing in Green Bay?
I'll look.
Yeah, take a look, because I don't know if they're playing in the dome or not. But I guess
I'm pretty sure it's in Minnesota.
Yeah. Okay. But either way, I just think I think ETN is going to be fine. And listen, James Robinson, for what it's worth, another guy coming off an injury. What's that split going to look like if he plays? So we should get the updated injury reports shortly. So we're going to have a break and we'll talk through all those. But let's talk another quick question.
It's at Minnesota.
Oh, so it's in a dome. So you got to love that too.
It's going to be 45-42 Green Bay.
All right. So half PPR flex question. Michael Carter, Davis, Tolbert, or Boyd? Of course, Davis pops in here because J.K. Dobbins has been ruled out. So it's a great question from Granville. What do you got?
Well, it's another tough one, right? We're getting all the tough questions today. Since I tried to sell you on him before, I'm going to sell you on him again. I think it's Jalen Tolbert.
I can't, man. Listen, I love it.
Maybe I'm invested in him. Hey, what does your shirt say?
My shirt?
Yeah, guess where I own him?
Razzball?
So if I'm going to win the Bo Jackson division, it's going to be on the back of Jalen Tolbert.
I hope not.
I just think he's interesting, right? There's boring DFS and there's boring season long, right? To me, Christian McCaffrey is boring. Jonathan Taylor's boring. They're gonna do what they're supposed to do. Interesting to me is not Mike Davis. Interesting to me is not Tyler Boyd or Michael Carter. Interesting to me is Jalen Tolbert. So I think that I'm still going with the guy that maybe out of the 3 or out of the 4 is the biggest question mark. But I kind of dig him this week. I've got this weird gut feeling. It's either a gut feeling or gas, buddy, and I'll tell you tonight which one it was.
So, yeah, Tolbert, I'm going to so the Ravens' run defense is really good. And we don't know what the split's going to be yet with Breece Hall. So I understand the question coming in here. Mike Carter would make the most sense. Mike Davis, same thing. The Jets run defense wasn't great last year per se. So it's just that the Ravens have a lot of problems up front, and they struggle to run the football. There's already reports that Kenyon Drake and him are going to split the carries. So you also have another split there. Tyler Boyd against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tyler Boyd was – take it for someone who had Tyler Boyd as a must-have player last year. Tyler Boyd really, really, really let me down because – and I'll tell you why. What they started doing with Tyler Boyd was they actually started running crossers over the middle of the field and it was really Chase. And what they were doing with Boyd, they were just doing these out routes. And he became like this outlet, like a tight end usually is. And it drove me insane watching this. I don't expect fireworks there. Believe it or not, I'm actually going to go Davis in this out of these four guys, just because of the fact that the Jets' run defense is not great. It's average at best. So I think I'm going to actually go Michael Carter here. Mike Davis, because I'm not sure what to expect from that Jets backfield just yet.
And DT went with Michael Carter. So sorry, Granville, for having three different answers to one question. But
yeah, so you go DT's got Carter, who's off. You got Jalen Tolbert, you got Mike Davis. Good news is one of us will be right, and then you can come back to the show just to
unless it's Tyler Boyd.
Unless it's Tyler Boyd, then you don't have to come back. We understand.
Can you imagine?
All right, James Gannon. Shout out to James Gannon, by the way. James Gannon, one of my boys from college, on the show to help us out, to answer a question. Thank you, man. He knows his stuff. I really appreciate it when it comes to fantasy football. That's awesome. He did have a question here though. So need one flex spot: CH, Chase Edmonds, Kyle Pitts, and Rashad Bateman. So Pitts is a potential flex. So you have Pitts, CH, Edmonds, Rashad Bateman. Who you got, Matt?
Pitts all day.
I agree. And James, I would love to know what your tight end situation is.
Yep.
Did you double book? I think at some point you're gonna have to use one of those guys. If you're dealing with an Andrews situation or I think I would only start Andrews and Kelsey over Pitts this week. So unless you have those two guys, maybe you could look at a flex option there. Shane King. All right, buddy, let's get you going here. Not sure if you answered already, but Juju versus Miles Sanders, half PPR flex. What do you got, Matt?
Well, we've gone over both of these guys today, right? So we're looking at Sanders behind the number one line in football, O-line. He's going to catch a couple of passes. Gainwell may catch a couple more or have more targets. But you've kind of sold me on Juju. But I don't want to be a Bobby LaMarco homer necessarily. So give me Sanders behind that behind the line versus Juju having an 8-catch game that gives him 4 points.
I'm slightly offended that you're not already locked in as a Bobby homer. So because I'm a homer for you, Matt. I'm thinking to myself, I love this guy.
I think it looks like your name might be James Gannon because you're out here propping yourself up. I love it.
This is my burner account. I actually just say nice half of these questions.
Hold on, I'm going to get a picture of that for you. Leave that up there.
Oh yeah, you want to take a photo? Go ahead. This is my burner. He's going to track this, James Gannon. I'll appreciate you, Star. Love you, man. Honestly, yeah. So we're going to both go Kyle Pitts here. All right. So for this one, I'm going to say Miles Sanders. I just brought this up earlier. Listen, Juju's going to be good. But the one thing I will say about their matchup against Arizona, that Arizona is a wide funnel defense, meaning that they allow more points to the perimeter last year. They do have the same defensive coordinator. And Byron Murphy is their best cornerback who plays in the slot. So I think Juju's good. But in this scenario, I'm going to take Miles Sanders. Absolutely. He's got the number 2 run game matchup in my metric right now. Cameron Hill, let's talk about flex position. Chris Godwin, Damian Pierce, or Brandon Ayuk. Full PPR, Matt.
We talked about Godwin wearing the brace. I'm not a big fan. Ayuk in the slop, which doesn't bode well for him. So I'm going to go Pierce with Shaq out.
Yeah, I think when talking through these guys, Chris Godwin's coming off a serious injury. I'm not interested in starting these injured players really, really early on just because I want to take a wait and see approach. He was running routes with an ACL brace on his knee as early as this week. So I'm not going to take him there. We talked about Chicago. This is really important. Anybody watching right now, Chicago has terrible weather. Ayuk, Debo, Trey Lance. I got Trey Lance. I just realized I have Trey Lance so many leagues. Oh my God. That just hit me just now that I'm like, I might have to switch him out for somebody. Anyway, so I'm going to go Pierce. Now, Pierce has a terrible matchup. Literally, I'm not joking you, 32nd in my metric. The Houston Texans versus that D line for the Colts. But I think Pierce has showed some juice, and I think based on this situation, I'm actually going to go Pierce, even if it's full PPR, unfortunately. But yeah, Pierce it is.
And if this is week 1 and Chicago's weather is good, I'm probably going Ayuk.
Yeah, I probably agree with you there.
Oh no!
She dropped Tolbert to pick up Palmer. I mean, listen, Matt is probably gonna have. Matt needs to take a quick commercial break because he's about to lose his mind here. So
is she a subscriber? I need her to be a subscriber. I want her back next week. Well, actually, I won't be here next week, will I? I'm going to try to be here next week.
I appreciate it, Matt. I honestly love that. Yeah, but yeah, listen. It's Josh Palmer. Listen. There's just when you're looking at this from a vacuum, Tolbert. In this situation that we know now, we know Gallup is going to take a couple weeks to get up and running, but we know by mid-season, Gallup and CeeDee Lamb are going to be the 1-2 receivers, and Schultz will be the 3. So Tolbert not being, by mid-season, he might be the 4th option on this offense. Now you can say the same exact thing for Palmer. Palmer could be behind Gerald Everett. The number 3 receiver spot is up for grabs. The one thing I will say, though, is the Chargers do throw the football at an elite level. There's only a handful of teams in the NFL that could challenge 700 pass attempts in a season. It's Tom Brady with the Bucs, it's the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and it's Justin Herbert with the Chargers. That elite target pass volume gives the option for 3rd and 4th options to be fantasy viable that other teams cannot do. Like, you cannot throw the ball like the Philadelphia Eagles do 500 times and expect Smith to be dominant, A.J. Brown, and also Dallas Goedert. So I think that from that perspective, Palmer does offer you some more upside long-term. But I think if I needed a player to start, I would lean Tolbert over Palmer. But if I needed a player to stash, I would actually pick Palmer over Tolbert, if that makes sense.
So I'll give you some insight. So best ball, right? Razzball is a best ball. I divided the season into four game section, and I targeted guys that I knew would be able to overperform their season in the first 4 weeks. Tolbert's that guy for me. With Gallup out. So Tolbert is going to be a 1 through 4 week guy, and then I don't care what he does. I just need him to hit on 2 of those 4 weeks, or maybe even 1 of those 4 weeks for me, and he was worth round 20 whatever that I got him in. So that I'm not a Tolbert truther. I'm just a Tolbert early, kind of like with your defensive Thielen, right? Thielen's healthy today. Yeah. He is older. He's had been nicked up in the past, but I like Tolbert early. I don't like Tolbert late.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. All right, let's jump down to Kale Sport. What's going on, man? Flex, Mooney, Kirk, or Dillon PPR? These are 2 of your guys, by the way.
Yeah, they are. I'm going Dillon today. I think that both running backs are going to play. Both running backs are going to be in the passing game. No Lazard. We don't know what Doubs and Watson can do. Tunney is coming off his injury, so give me Dillon with as a 1A and Kirk as 1B, and Mooney not today, not with that weather.
So I listen, we know Mooney's out. We talked about the weather at nauseum. We know Mooney's not part of this. I think it really comes down to Kirk and Dillon. Both have very good matchups. Listen, Dillon number 1 in my run game matchup is the Packers offense versus that Minnesota defense. I know they have dealing with some bookend issues with their tackles, so that might be a thing. But like I said before, they barely played last year. The Packers, people keep talking about the Packers' injuries to their offensive line. They played the whole last season without them, so it's not really much different. So I do think that Dillon gets his. But I think it's important to understand that the role change, and I think Dillon's probably one of the best bets for a touchdown. But we're talking PPR. We could honestly so here's the receptions from Dillon when he started seeing the bigger role after Aaron Jones' injury. So Jones came back week 14, 0, 1, 3, 2, 1. And then in the playoff game, he had 0. So he doesn't really offer you much in the passing game necessarily. That mostly goes to a guy like Aaron Jones. Why am I bringing this up? This is full PPR. So you could honestly say you're spotting Kirk 5 points before you even step on the field, because Kirk's probably going to get you 6 receptions maybe in this game, maybe 2 for Dillon. So that's 4 points going to Kirk before we start. That being said, who's the better threat to score a touchdown? Probably Dillon. So it's probably mitigated right there. From that, I'm probably going to go with Dillon.
Now, did you see Kale Sports comment right below? Does that change your opinion? It might change mine slightly. I love Dillon, but maybe you don't want to put all of your eggs in one Green Bay basket.
True.
And diversification, right? Fantasy and investments, diversification is good. So
here's the thing. Washington was terrific last year in the second. They were terrible. And Kirk, I'm really, really high on Kirk this week. You know what? Let's do it. I'm in. Let's do the switch. Because of this update, I'm actually that's gonna kick me over to Kirk just a little bit, just to avoid some uncertainty. I actually don't think you can go wrong with either, but in full PPR, I think Dillon's the better threat for the touchdown, but I think Kirk makes up for that in receptions.
Yep, the volume.
In a full PPR volume. So I do think I'm going to go with Kirk here instead.
All right, Kale, we convinced ourselves to allow your previous lineup to convince us that it's Christian Kirk.
Yeah, because I think it's splitting hairs, right? I think honestly, I think we both know if it was like a half PPR or standard league, I'd probably say it's Dillon. You're not going to sweat it. But I think in this type of format, I'm actually okay with taking Kirk because the matchup's really good. Kirk is probably the number one, and if Kirk had a bad matchup, I'd probably just say Dillon anyway. But Kirk is a really good matchup today, so I'm actually going to go Kirk there as well. It looks like we're out of questions just for a minute. Let's actually take a moment and comb through. So I actually like to look at some of the notable inactives here before we go. Roto.
And Kale, he added that he has Ramondre too. I don't start Ramondre over Kirk in that situation either.
Yeah. So Dobbins. So it looks like just combing through some of these really quick. Ronnie Stanley's officially out today for the Baltimore Ravens. So is J.K. Dobbins. So is Nick Boyle. Marcus Peters is not ready to go just yet. Here's a nugget for anybody who is a Cordell Patterson truther. Tyler Algier is a healthy scratch today. He is not in the starting. He's not actually dressed today as well. So I think that's pretty notable if you're a Cordell Patterson truther, because I'm not really worried about Damian Williams necessarily taking work from him too much. Let's see. Yeah, Ellis Jones was today. Yeah, there's a lot of other things going on here. Yeah. Conklin is officially out, the right tackle, and so is Chris Hubbard for the Browns. So that's a slight downgrade for them. Yeah.
Michael Thomas officially active. Laviska Shenault officially inactive.
Yeah.
Logan Thomas officially active.
Yeah, it's tough because I usually get to do this in the back end. That's all right, Matt. Very soon we'll get Matt in the hosting seat very soon, so I can do some of this updates in the future because I like to look at this stuff and get it all ready to go. Instead of just like reading it on air, I actually have it all ready to go in my information. But yeah, I'm just trying to see really quick if there's anybody that stood out that's not going to be Van Jefferson. We already know that's Thursday night. Connor inactive. Trey Flowers, the linebacker, potential starter for the Dolphins, is out. Noah, one of the corners is out for Miami, but I don't think that's going to mean anything. Nothing there.
Not against the New England receivers. Again, they're like the Giants, right? If you have 7 receivers, you have none.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really see anything really that stands out otherwise. Tyron Davis-Price, by the way, 49ers running back, is inactive today for this game. George Kittle is officially inactive for the game today. So if you have George Kittle, he's officially out.
So what did Sky say before he signed off? 85 carries, 9 touchdowns for Eli Mitchell today. He's going to double down with Ty Price Davis out.
Well, I think Price. I think Jeff Wilson's the number 2. I think he was. That's how I drafted it all year. I took in my deeper formats, best ball. I took a lot of Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is going to get the third down back role. I think today, for perspective purposes, I think Elijah Mitchell. No one's worried about Mitchell. Mitchell missed 5 games last year from 3 different injuries. This guy is he's not a big back. And the way the 49ers like to, ride their hot hand approach a little bit, Mitchell's going to be good. Mitchell, I'm not sweating Mitchell, but the problem with Mitchell is he gets weird nicked up injuries. He had like a finger injury last year. He missed a game here. He got a concussion. And I think that's the only downside of the Elijah Mitchell situation is because he can't stay healthy. But I'm all in. But Tyron Davis-Price being inactive just means to me that Jeff Wilson, with Trey Sermon gone, it's Jeff Wilson's probably a very, very one of the most underrated handcuffs to have in fantasy football. So
and he's a touchdown guy too. He's a beast when he gets down inside the 5. So hey, I actually got a question on text. Do you want me to share it with you? It's a good one.
Yeah, go for it.
Full PPR, Penny, DK, or Bobby Trees. Got to start 2. I already know what your answer is going to be, so I can tell you what your answer is going to be while you act like you're thinking about it.
I don't know. I haven't really thought. We haven't really had a Bobby Trees question today.
I think it's his first foray into the show.
Yeah. How comfortable do I feel with DK Metcalf this week against Denver?
Well, if your boss is watching, and we think he is, and we go against DK, we're going to get flogged online.
Yeah, no, it's not. So Patrick Surtain has been like all they've talked about this offseason was how good he's been. I don't think he's going to shadow DK Metcalf. Give me Metcalf and Penny. I'll take them both. Let's do it.
Yep, and that's exactly what I responded with. So I said my boss Bobby says these will be the 2 names.
Yeah, I just think we talked a lot about injured players today, and call me nuts. I just don't. And for week 1, I'm not going to just thrust in like Robert Woods is coming up. He's going to be 30, coming off a very serious injury that happened mid-season last year. I think Woods is going to be fine. But I think when you have a healthy DK Metcalf, I'm not fading DK anymore. I'm tired of. I think we've gotten to a point now where I've started turning back because I faded DK Metcalf for guys like Sutton, DJ Moore, even guys like I hate to say it now, Allen Robinson, for example. But I'm not really worried about him long term. But yeah, so I think that's from my perspective. I think I'm okay with DK Metcalf. We got another one from James. Thanks, James. Bob's burner account. Jerry Jeudy or Hunter Renfrow. Now, James, one of the tidbits here is I always put in the format so we know because PPR versus standard makes some differences for these questions. But Matt, in a vacuum, let's assume half PPR. What's your thoughts here?
So I heard something on the radio, and because I'm old, I don't remember exactly what the analysis was, but it had to do with the slot. I believe the slot corner that Renfro's playing against. So if you have some information on that. The analysis was that Renfrow is a great play other than this week. So with that, and I don't remember exactly what the analysis was, and I apologize, I should have written it down, is I will probably lean Jeudy, but I want to lean Renfrow. So I'll go with Jeudy.
So it was Chris Harris last year. Chris Harris is no longer on the team. Yeah, the Chargers are one of the toughest slot matchups in football. They pretty much, I think I don't have the exact, they only averaged, they're red. I know they're red up here. I have my screen up. I'm not going to filter it right now, but it's a tough matchup against that Chargers secondary. But let me just look up really quick because I want to look at because I'm pretty sure Chris Harris is gone. J.C. Jackson is out. So that might change things just a little bit. It's not just about players, it's about scheme. Like sometimes certain coaching schemes take away the middle of the field more than others. So it's Asante Samuel Jr. now. That's who's supposed to be the slot guy. Oh, they also have Bryce Callahan. That's right. So Bryce Callahan is their potential slot corner. They actually have a pretty good.
Yeah. That's the name. That was the name.
Yeah. Callahan is a longtime Vic Fangio guy. Callahan was big with Vic Fangio, and of course Staley, the head coach from the Chargers, coached with Vic Fangio, so this kid knows the system. So I actually don't mind the thought process there. And listen, just the scheme last year, they took away the middle of the field a lot. So I actually go Jeudy here as well. I do like the analysis, but listen, Seattle was one of the worst. I want to just preface this whole statement with we don't know what the KJ Hamler / Tim Patrick impact's going to be on this offense because we knew Jerry Jeudy was the slot receiver. Jerry Jeudy was the slot guy. Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton were on the outside. Now with a guy like Hamler, the question comes, Hamler played a lot in the slot too. So did they move Jeudy outside? That's something I'll be watching today because technically in full PPR, it's better to be get slot targets than it is out wide. When you start getting into half, it's actually almost irrelevant because you're getting more air yards, more yards per target on the outside than you do in the slot, but you have a higher catch rate, which compensates for that in the slot than you do out wide. So when you talk to just pure fantasy points, actually in a full PPR format, the slot is better than out wide. So that's what James told us down here. It's actually PPR. So that's why I'm going to go Judy either way, but I am going to watch to see what the deal is.
And my only argument against myself would be, right, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Cooper Kupp, Renfro, guys that Jarvis Landry, you mentioned him earlier. They seem to always find a way to get open, right? I guess it comes down to game script and whatever that defensive scheme is. If the defensive scheme is set up to stop the slot receiver, then Renfro maybe is not the guy this week. But, man, do I love him for a lot of targets this year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are under – I know Devontae Adams' impact is huge. Josh McDaniels comes in. And, listen, I don't want to say this is going to happen, but remember Randy Moss and Wes Welker? They were pretty good together.
Yep.
Josh McDaniels did some things with them. I think that maybe Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow can replicate to an extent. We have seen with the Waller impact could be that Rob Gronkowski's offense. So there's a lot of pieces that fit real nice together. So I do think I'm interested in that. But for this week, I do think that Russ is going to want to prove something here. So I do agree there. Let's see now. We got Jake, shout out. Great show, Jake. Appreciate that, man. Listen, we're going to come. The best part, too, is, man, we're going to be there here all season long. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We want to make sure you guys are here with us all season long. All right, pick 2, Hunt, Dillon, or Josh Jacobs. This is our first Josh Jacobs question.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs has entered the chat.
I like it. So what's your thoughts here?
Dillon and Jacobs. Hunt doesn't do anything to set my heart aflutter with Chubb this week. I think Hunt is probably better at football than Jacobs, but here's an interesting tidbit, right? That the Raiders did not offer Jacobs a contract, so he's playing out his final year. With that, I think they're going to absolutely run him into the ground. I don't think they owe him anything moving forward. They don't intend on re-signing him. I think they're going to do whatever they can to milk every last yard out of Josh Jacobs and then throw him to the Wolves when the season's done. So I'm gonna start him early, and you know how I feel about Dillon.
So how you destroyed the Chargers last year was on the ground. Chargers were horrible. Now they got Khalil Mack in the offseason, which obviously the guy's an absolute beast. But I think Mack especially is more known for his pass rush, right? So they got killed on the ground, by the way. It was embarrassing how bad it was. Their Justin Jones, their stud DT, is now in Chicago. So they do not have him either. And how you beat them really is on the ground. So I'm actually good with Jacobs this week. This is another good one for PPR, though. Like if it's a full PPR, Hunt does have more value. But remember, we don't know what the Jacoby Brissett-led offense is going to look like. Jacoby Brissett isn't necessarily a check down quarterback. I mean, I know Hunt had a lot of value as this different hybrid role where he caught a decent amount of passes and he was getting about 10 carries a game behind Hunt. But I just think from my perspective, I know that Jacobs is going to probably be the guy this week, at least for this week. So I'm going to go Jacobs and Dillon because I think all three have decent matchups if you look at their matchups on paper. So give me the guys I know are going to get the most volume out of that group. So it's half PPR. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
And we need to ask Jake, can he get us tickets? Go back to his profile. I mean, can we get some tickets, buddy? Look at that.
To the Dodgers, you're talking about?
He may be a bullpen guy. We don't even know.
He looks professional. You look like a ball player, my friend. Keep it on. Spread the word to your fellow athletes at Razzball Fantasies on Sunday morning.
And they can donate.
All right, Matthew. Yes, of course. Of course you can donate, guys. Matthew Weltzler, 10-team ESPN PPR. Very good, very detailed. I love that. Would you sit Najee Harris, starting Mixon, Chubb, Gibson, using DT's ranking? So DT actually has apparently Najee Harris lower than Mixon, Chubb, and Gibson. I think really the question, would you start Gibson over Najee Harris because the other two seem like locks?
I don't think I do. I understand that it may make sense to do that. I just don't know that I don't know that I have the guts to do that, right? What did Sky say? It's not always start your studs. I think for week one, it's start your studs. And I don't think the foot injury that we talked about for Najee is as bad as what analysis said. I think it's because it was a slow analysis week that we just went ad nauseum on the Najee Harris foot injury. So I go Mixon, Chubb, Harris, and I'd probably sit Gibson.
So last season, Najee Harris had 8 carries for 23 yards and 14 carries for 40 yards against Cincinnati. Where he made his hay, he had a 19-target game for 14 receptions and 102 yards. That is not going to happen again.
No.
I do not – and listen, Mitch Trubisky's a different style quarterback. He is not going to check down to his running backs as much as Big Ben did. And I know that Tariq Cohen way back in the day had a very solid season with Mitch Trubisky, but the only player on that roster they had was Allen Robinson. This offense is loaded. I mean, you can make an argument that they have the best receiving core in football between Pat Freiermuth at tight end, Deontay, Pickens, and Chase Claypool. They have at least a top 5 group. I don't think they're going to need to throw the running backs that much. So I'm actually going to go with it. I'm going to go Gibson over Harris. I agree with the DT, the guy, and I'm going to go for it. So I actually think that Gibson, because Brian Robinson's out for at least the first month, he's going to get he's going to get 20 carries in this game against Jacksonville. So I'm actually okay with that call. All right, let's go. Sam Trigg, Gibson or Travis Etienne in full PPR. Thanks for the help. You got it. What do you got, Matt, on this one?
Well, you may have just sold me on Antonio Gibson.
Nice. Right? But this is a catch-22 now.
Right, it is.
DT told us not to fade Etienne, but he's also ranking Gibson higher than most. I don't know. It's a lose-lose, so just pick your favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to take my white collar 15-minute break, right? So the boss doesn't know what I'm doing. I go out back and just hide from him. I think that because I have faded Etienne, I faded Gibson, it's a tough call. I go with the better matchup, right? They're going head-to-head, basically. I think probably Etienne.
Let's see. We have a second here. Let's look this up because I think it's a really good question. What was the Washington football team? The Commanders are middle of the pack, 84 receptions last year allowed to running backs, but they did allow 9 receiving touchdowns. So I think that kind of skews the numbers. So they're about average against running backs in the receiving game. I'm not really 9 receiving touchdowns seems kind of fluky to me, in my opinion. Yeah, so they're right in the middle of the pack to receiving backs. Give me Gibson. And I'll tell you why. I think a lot of people don't realize how dominant he was down the stretch last year. Like once he fractured his shin. Now I understand that Brian Robinson was going to beat out Gibson, but Brian, you have to reset your mind. Robinson's not around anymore. This is going back to basics. Gibson is going to be the starter. Gibson's going to get the full workload. And if you look at down the stretch last year, the guy was getting nearly 20 carries a game, and he was dealing it with a fractured shin. So I think from my perspective, I think Gibson is probably going to get you the bigger workload. Now, what is Jacksonville's defense going to look like this year under a new coach? I'm not 100% sure just yet. I think we brought this up earlier. It's the linebackers coach for Jacksonville, right? That's their new OC. The linebackers coach from Tampa. So Caldwell. I think I'm going to go with Gibson here. Even in full PPR, I think that he's going to get you a healthy workload. Jacksonville's run defense really wasn't that good last year, even from a personnel standpoint. So I'm going to go Gibson. All right, let's Gainville coming back again for another question. Appreciate you. Deep league, Burkhead or White? A better handcuff rest of season. What's your thoughts here, Matt? This is not to start. This is just a handcuff, right?
I think it's probably Burkhead because it's a 2 running back committee right now. Well, not committee. That's a bad term to use in fantasy, but right now Burkhead's the clear number 2. I think Zamir White is better in Dynasty, but right now, just in case Pierce doesn't have what we all think he has, I think Burkhead's the guy. And we know Burkhead can catch the football. We don't know anything about Zamir White and catching the football in the NFL.
So I have 2 different answers because it does matter here. Because if it's like end of bench, like a guy I just want to stash, I'm probably never going to start him. I have a good lineup. Like Burkhead's probably going to be the passing down back, and I don't expect the Texans to be that good. I mean, I know we're positive about the Texans; they're heading in the right direction, but they got Davis Mills, a 3rd-round pick at quarterback. They have a lot of unproven talent besides Brandon Cooks on the offense. Rex Burkhead will be the passing down back. I know Pierce is the early down guy, but if I'm talking about just a handcuff stash, I think White is the one guy where, what if Josh Jacobs struggles? This coaching staff is ready to kick him out the door. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option. This is a brand new coaching regime that did not draft him. They drafted White. So I think if I'm talking just high upside stash, it's White. If I want to stash someone who I think might have value in my flex, it's going to be Burkhead. So that makes sense.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. So DJ Man 23, Mike Davis, Julio Jones, or AJ Green, standard league flex spot. What do you got?
Mike Davis. I like AJ Green if it's PPR. It's not 7 years ago, so I don't know Julio Jones, what he's going to do. I think it's going to be more Fournette than anything else in Tampa Bay from Tom Brady today. So I go with your pick that you made earlier with Mike Davis.
Yeah, this one's interesting because, I think Mike Davis is probably the lead back against the Jets in a standard format too. Yeah, let's go Mike Davis. I think I'll do Mike Davis too. I don't know what to expect with the Drake split, even though J.K. Dobbins is out today. But, I don't know. Something about A.J. Green is very uninspiring. He just, has not been – he got hit hard by injuries and his age and everything compiled so quickly. I don't know. Matt, is there any % chance that now he had a healthy year last year, that he improves because he's more removed from those injuries, or do you think he's just done?
What I noticed last year, and I owned him in a league that I really, really needed him when injuries hit the rest of my roster, and I was able to watch him play on even the games where he had good numbers. He has absolutely no separation. He's very, very slow compared to what AJ Green used to be. So I don't, I think he can catch passes, right? He can run all the routes and he has great hands, but as soon as he catches it, he's done. The DBs are going to close and they're going to tackle and it's over. He just doesn't have the separation he used to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Julio too. This is the other thing. Julio is also another guy where I know he's been productive pretty much when he's played, but last year he just didn't look right ever. He just always dealing with injuries. And I think Mike Davis, ironically, might be the most safe pick here in a standard format. I think if it was a PPR format, I might take a shot on a guy like Julio, knowing that Godwin's banged up and that Tampa Bay Dallas game could be high scoring. But in a standard format with no PPR, I'm actually okay with Mike Davis in this situation. Dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How's it going, Dice? Matt, Sammy Watkins going to have the Magic Week 1 again this year. I think a lot of people are starting to agree. This might be – I think if you're doing DFS, you should do at least one lineup where you have Sammy Watkins in there just to cover your bases. Throw in $1 on a DFS lineup with all the week 1 magic. Seems more appealing than Dameon Pierce. Nobody to throw to in Green Bay versus Pierce as the Colts run D. I agree, I understand, but Matt, what's your first thoughts? I guess Sammy Watkins. Would you just go deep and get Sammy Watkins, or are you just going to stick with Pierce, knowing he has that run game matchup against the Colts?
Well, we don't know what the format is, right, for this league.
Yeah, this might be a good spot for PPR versus standard. So, Dice, if you could put that in there, that'd be great.
Yeah. If I have to pick one going into the day blindly, not knowing the format, actually probably even if there is a half or full point PPR, and I have the choice of Pierce, I'm probably taking Pierce over Watkins, even though it is weak. Oh, you said PPR. I'm probably still leaning Pierce, but it becomes a little bit closer.
It's PPR. Yeah, he did say it's PPR. I get it. So here's the thing. Leonard, little linebacker for the Colts, is out today. That does help Pierce.
The best player on their defense by far.
Yeah, by far. So that does help Pierce. Pierce is probably walking into 15 carries. Even if he gets you 4 yards per carry, you got 6 points there. Maybe gets a catch or two, whatever. You're already starting to get to that, 8-point range overall. My mindset here, though, is I don't have any expectations from Sammy Watkins because we haven't seen him play at all. We haven't seen him in the preseason. We didn't see him we haven't seen Sammy Watkins at all. So I just think I get it, but I just know Pierce is enough volume. I think even in a PPR format, he's probably locked in minimum 8 to 10 points. If he gets a touchdown, you're good to go. Watkins, I don't have a clue. I understand that Watkins is a veteran, but Rodgers is also leans a lot more to the guys he knows, like Tunney and Cobb, the running backs. Watkins is still new himself. You don't see a lot of free agents coming to Green Bay and dominating right from the jump either. And really, we really rarely have seen free agent receivers dominate with the Packers. It's always been homegrown talent. So I know Sammy Watkins seems like a better bet. Listen, if you need let's say, for example, the guy you played on Monday playing his Thursday night let's say he had Josh Allen, Cooper Kupp on his roster, and you're down 90 points going into this week already. Then you take the shot on Watson because you need all that upside. Go for it. I do agree in that scenario. You can go Watkins, but I'm going to go either way. Pirates are my friends. Listen, I'm glad to hear it because, listen, those are kind of guys you don't want as your enemy. So I do agree that Pirates as your friends are the way to go. What are you doing with Devontae Parker? Your thoughts, Matt?
Nothing. I want absolutely nothing to do with Devontae Parker. Now, if this is a 14 team, like, is this a really deep league? Is this there's crazy points for some types of receptions? I don't know. I want nothing to do with Devontae Parker. I want nothing to do with the New England receiving corps.
So we talked about this last year. Sorry, my apologies. We talked about this earlier this offseason. It's called How to Avoid Drafting a Bust. One of the key things that we found was target competition is a problem. If you have improved target competition, it's a problem. The thing with the Patriots is that they have so many good players, not many great players, but they have good players. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, the running backs in the backfield, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, and even their fourth wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne, had moments last year. I just think that there's a lot of target competition on an offense who, by the way, we don't even know who the coordinator is on this offense just yet. So, yeah, we don't even know. And Matt Patricia, and I can tell you from a Giants fan, Joe Judge does not inspire me as an offensive mind. He literally ran a QB sneak on 3rd and 7 last year, which was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. You are not staying anyway. Just sling it. He should have – I don't want to get into a Joe Judge rant right now, but my God, that guy. But anyway, I think Parker, in my opinion, if you have him on your team, you're obviously going to just stash him. I am not targeting Devontae Parker. I did not want Devontae Parker. I have him on 0 teams. I think the target competition is too much. That being said, I think things will open up down the line. I know a couple contracts, and Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne's contracts are done pretty much after this season. So Parker very soon could be into a bigger target share with an ascending quarterback. So I think from a dynasty perspective, he actually might be a buy in dynasty. You can probably get him pretty cheap. But for redraft 2022, not really feeling him that much. All right. Let's give it a couple minutes here, Matt. I think we're almost done. I think we basically killed it all day long. I think we got to get through. There's one thing, though, that's breaking news. James Robinson is actually active today, which I think is kind of a surprise. And I think this kind of talks a little bit about our ETN stuff. I know, James, I don't think I'm really – we don't know what the split is. James Robinson's coming off a very serious Achilles injury. We like to fade Achilles injuries if we can. But Doug Peterson – is known for using multiple backs. Doug Peterson used to give us migraines with how many running backs he would use back in the day. Boston Scott's, he would throw in a Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
I mean, Miles Sanders is getting him like 5.5 yards per carry, but Jordan Howard's getting, goal line work, and Boston Scott's getting receiving work. I think Doug Peterson's the type of coach that likes to put guys in certain roles. I think this is notable, though, for Travis Etienne. I think this means that Travis Etienne will not be a workhorse at all to start the year. And the good news is rookie Snoop Connor is inactive, so at least we know it's not going to be like a 3-way committee because he was getting a lot of work too. But any thoughts on James Robinson, Matt?
I drafted him late, probably much later than where he should have gone, banking on the fact that the news reports are right that he was going to be healthy to come out. So as much as we've been told today by our boss to not fade Etienne, this is the main reason, James Robinson, that I'm fading Etienne. Even if it's a split, Robinson ends up on the positive end of that, and Etienne ends up losing some of the stock that he had going into the draft, right? Everybody loves the Clemson running back. Everybody loves the high draft capital. But in the long run, if this ends up to be even a 60-40 or 70-30 split, Etienne's draft stock goes way, way down, in my opinion.
I didn't draft either of these guys this year. We just did too much research on injuries to be confident in either of these guys. I just know from my own research that you're basically 2.5 times more likely to miss your ADP by drafting these guys than them to exceed it. Even crazier, you're 20% more likely. They're more likely to miss their ADP, positional ADP, by 10 spots than exceed it. So knowing that they're more likely to be, if you draft a guy at RB20, he's more likely to be RB30 than RB19 coming off a serious injury. That's what the research told us. So I just stayed away from it. Now it's a committee. I just think the one thing that's notable here is if you were looking for a deciding factor in your flex for ETN versus X, this might push you the other way. Let's do the jackalope. Jackalope.
Jackalope. It's
jackalope.
It's an actual animal in Texas.
Okay, I like it. Question: Zeke or ETN full PPR? We just talked about this. What's your thoughts, Matt?
It's got to be Zeke, right? Zeke gonna eat, and I think that's going to be a shootout of a game. Zeke can catch. Zeke can also pass protect. He's gonna be in the game plenty. The only thing that scares me is Pollard, but Robinson scares me just as much for ETN. So I think that the better NFL proven player is Zeke, and I'll go with him right now.
So here's the other thing about this.
And I hate Zeke. I hate everything about him, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me is that Zeke has a terrible matchup, like horrible matchup against the Bucs. So in full PPR, oh my God, this is horrible. This is a horrible question because I already know Zeke does not seem appealing to me either. With no Tyron Smith, the Bucs run defense is insane. Give me ETN and full PPR.
Let's be honest. Going into draft season, was there anything that you liked about Zeke? I mean, really, when you were putting together your draft rankings, did you ever say to yourself, you know what? I would love for Zeke to fall to me in the third round. Or were you ecstatic when that other dude drafted Zeke and you said, okay, I don't have to worry about having Zeke on my team this year? I
have 0 Zeke.
Me too.
And I have 0 ETN.
Me too.
So I guess the question for me is more of while we're doing this on air, I'm actually trying to upgrade our overlays so we have better overlays for our future shows. So I apologize if I look a little distracted. My thought though is ETN's more injury related than it is necessarily his type of skill set. ETN is the better skill set player that you want in PPR. He's going to get you passing game work. And he's already ahead of a guy like James Robinson when it comes to recovery. So from that standpoint, yes, Zeke is going to have his moments, though. Zeke is when it comes to Zeke, I think a lot of people he was being overdrafted because of the receivers, not because of the running backs in that area. I'd much rather have Williams. I'd rather much have T. Higgins. I'd much rather have Michael Pittman. I'd much rather have, Brandon Cooks, those upside receivers in full PPR than Zeke. And the reason why is because Zeke last year wasn't actually bad efficiency-wise, even dealing with the PCL. I know a lot of people say he had the PCL, he wasn't really good, but he really wasn't versus career norms. What happened was his touches went way down. He lost about 7-8 touches a week because Tony Pollard became a thing. I think that's the problem. Zeke is now older behind a much worse offensive line. This offensive line went from number 1, number 2 is probably the middle of the pack now. Now with Tyron Smith out, you're probably looking closer to 15, 20 in most serious offensive line rankings. And now you're dealing from a guy who's already started to show that he's closer to 4 yards per carry in his career, now playing behind a much worse offensive line. My opinion is that he probably finishes the RB 18 to 20 this year, which is where he was being drafted. But you passed up on way, way too many high upside wide receivers. So I do think Zeke is fine. He's a very safe play. He's going to get volume, but he's not going to be elite anymore. He's no longer a top 10 running back. I think he's a nice mid-range to low-end RB2. But from my perspective against Tampa Bay, I don't want to see 15 carries for 50 yards. I'm not interested. Give me the perceived upside of a PPR guy like Travis Etienne in that scenario. All right, let's do one more. Let's get one more here. We're going to head out. I think this is pretty good. Let's end the show on a good note here. Evan, appreciate you watching the show. Waddle, Godwin, or DJ Moore? What's your thoughts here, Matt?
I don't have any shares of DJ Moore. I didn't want any Godwin because of the injury. I love Waddle in all formats, but given those names, I'm probably going to start DJ Moore over Waddle, not knowing what the format is, but I'm assuming it doesn't matter, right? They're all 3 receivers. So regardless of the format, probably DJ Moore slightly over Waddle.
I did it. I finally did it. Look at the top banner.
There you
Sunday
go.
Live Start Sit Show. How fun is that?
Yeah.
I love it. I'm finally getting things right around here.
Well, if you would have got up at 2:30, you could have had all that done, right?
You know what? The sad part too is, Matt, you're right. And honestly, I need to be better. And I appreciate you keeping me accountable. That's why you're on the show with me right now, dude. That's why you keep things good.
Hopefully DT's not watching that portion of the broadcast.
Yeah. So DJ Moore is the pick for me. We talked a little bit about Greedy Williams being out today. That's going to help his matchup. I do think Baker is going to want to beat up. We talk about the Russell Wilson narrative. We also talk about the other narrative with Baker Mayfield with the Browns. He's going to utilize his number one receiver. Waddle is honey, you could get up. It's fine. Okay. My girlfriend's she's in the room. Hey, Carrie. So I don't mind. My puppy's here too. Anyway, I'm going to go DJ Moore here as well because I think that DJ Moore is going to be – he's got the best matchup, probably all these guys. I like Godwin if he wasn't coming off a serious injury, but I'm going to go DJ Moore. We have a couple more here. Hunter Renfrow or DK? What do you got here?
I think we've kind of talked about it, DK, based on Hunter Renfrow's matchup. And don't look at the next comment. Don't look at the next one.
Hey, Burner and Cat. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf as well. Let's do the last one from James. Joe Burrow going up against Pittsburgh today or Tua against New England? Who you got?
Joe Burrow. Joe Cool is going to absolutely feast. They owe Pittsburgh a lot of comeuppance for over the years. So I think that they don't take their foot off the gas this year.
Yeah, I'm going to go Burrow too in this matchup. It just seems like Bill Belichick is kind of got that Miami Dolphins. I think Bill Belichick is going to be defensively fine. I think they're going to scheme things up to slow them down enough. But I actually do agree. Burrow is going to be electric this year. And the Pittsburgh secondary is going through some changes themselves. Their top cornerback, Joe Hayden, is now no longer on the team. So I do think that is notable there. All right, that's all we got for today.
Want an interesting Belichick and Miami fact?
Go ahead.
Tua's never lost to him.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's great.
Still Burrow. It's still Burrow all day.
Do you think what was Tua's? Let's see what Tua's numbers are. I'm open to it. Let's see what we got here.
I'm still going Burrow. You're never going to change my mind. I'm going Burrow, but
he threw for 109 yards and a touchdown and 202 and a touchdown last year against New England. I am going to go Joe Burrow all day in that scenario. Yep. Burrow over Patrick Mahomes, really quick.
Nope.
No, I'm going to go Mahomes.
Yep.
All right, that's all we got for today, folks. We really appreciate you jumping on with us. Honestly, we're going to be here all season long. So make sure you subscribe to the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. We'll be doing these Sunday Live Start Sit Shows all season long. We love you guys. We appreciate you for being on today. We're going to keep bringing you all the information you need from injuries, inactives, weather. I mean, who knew? I mean, you found out here first that you're going to sit your Bears and most of your 49ers because of the bad weather in Chicago. But we're going to bring you all that all summer long. Once again, I'm your host, Bobby Lamarck. I want to shout out our other partners, Paul Blake and Sky Gawaska, for jumping on today. But most importantly, the man who stayed with me through thick and thin, the bad takes it all, Matt Styles. At Styles08. You can follow him on Twitter. Thanks for joining us again, guys. We are out of here. Enjoy your first weekend of NFL Sunday football.